Chapter 1272. Grandpa Zhu's Goal. All right. Mother Chin naturally believed what Lin Yi said. Lin Yi was a doctor. How could a doctor's words be false? After dinner at Qin Shi's house, Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao said their goodbyes. Mrs. Chun and Chun, she sent Lin Yi off warmly, telling Lin Yi to come visit again when he was free. Lin Yi agreed with a smile. After leaving Chun Shi's house, the smile on Lin Yi's face suddenly disappeared, becoming very gloomy. Lin Yi, honey, what's wrong? Xiao Xiao asked, noticing Lin Yi's weird expression. Mrs. Chen's cancer is man-made. There's something wrong with that water purifier. Lin Yi didn't need to hide it from Xiao Xiao. There's something wrong with that water purifier. I know, it's that Grandpa Zhu. Xiao Xiao wasn't an idiot. Lin Yi had said that there was something wrong with that Grandpa Zhu back at the seaside, and Lin Yi had tested her again today. Naturally, Xiao Xiao knew that Lin Yi was suspecting Grandpa Zhu. It's him. I just can't figure out what his purpose is. A peak late phase mystic class master. Did he have nothing better to do? Poison a single mother? Is he out his mind? Or was it really unintentional? Because Qin Shi also said that the water purifier was picked up by Grandpa Zhu when he was picking up junk, but after changing the filter, it continued to be used. As for whether there were other problems in the water purifier, they were not professionals, so naturally they couldn't tell. Then why is Qin Shi fine? Xiao Xiao quickly thought of Qin Shi. That's what I'm curious about. Did Qin Shi take the antidote, or is her resistance stronger? Lin Yi shook his head and said, the harmful substances in the water purifier can't cause cancer in a day. This is a long-term process. Eating it for a long time will cause cancer, so I'm surprised that Qin Shi is fine. Maybe she's young, and she doesn't eat at home often? Is that why? Xiao Xiao asked. It's possible, but that Grandpa Zhu is very suspicious. Lin Yi said, but I don't know what he's planning, so I can only take it one step at a time and come to see Qin Shi often. And that Grandpa Zhu, I feel uncomfortable just looking at him. Xiao Xiao said, we can't let him hurt Qin Shi. In the blink of an eye, it was time for the fundraiser. Before the fundraiser, there was a singing competition. After the preliminary and semifinals, the school had selected the best soloists and choirs. Today, the finals would be held on the school's sports field. Because of the participation of members of the public, in order to ensure the safety of the students and the smooth progress of the donation event, the school's leaders had already notified the police, and early this morning, Ling Shan brought a group of police officers to the school to maintain order. Yu Feng wasn't planning on donating at the event, but he didn't think that Ling Shan would bring a team to maintain order in the school. He had to do something. Ling Shan, I didn't think you'd come too. Yu Feng smiled as he walked over to greet Ling Shan. Sorry, I'm on official business right now. I don't have time to chat with you. Please help yourself. Ling Shan looked at Yu Feng, not planning on talking to him at all. Ling Shan was annoyed to death with Yu Feng, and she didn't think that he'd come over to talk to her today. The fundraiser hasn't started yet, right? Miss Song, don't tell me that you don't even have time to talk? Yu Feng didn't seem to understand the meaning behind Ling Shan's words at all as he continued to stand there. Since it hasn't started yet, shouldn't Mr. Yu go prepare? Why don't you contribute to charity later? You're not planning on being stingy, are you? Ling Shan didn't like Yu Feng, but she didn't mind him donating some money to her. I've actually prepared for it. I'm very supportive of charity. I didn't think that Miss Song was a supporter of charity as well. Yu Feng smiled, thinking how much should he donate? Since Ling Shan liked people with love, naturally, he should donate more. If he donated too little, Ling Shan would think that he was stingy, but if he donated too much, Yu Feng wouldn't be satisfied. Why should he just waste his money like that? If it weren't for Ling Shan, he wouldn't even donate a single cent. Seeing Yu Feng walk over to Ling Shan, Lin Yi frowned. Did this guy know Ling Shan? Lin Yi didn't know who Yu Feng was, and he didn't know about the marriage between House Yu and House Song. Ling Shan didn't tell Lin Yi because Lin Yi didn't have any feelings for her. She didn't want to embarrass herself and let Lin Yi push her to Yu Feng. Huaijuan, on the other hand, thought that Lin Yi already knew about this when he was on the phone with Lin Yi, so he didn't bring it up. Lin Yi wasn't planning on letting House Yu go, so why would he bring up Lin Yi's relationship with Ling Shan and House Yu? It would make him look like a busybody. So when Lin Yi saw Yu Feng talking to Ling Shan, he was suspicious. Yu Feng, on the other hand, didn't know about the relationship between Lin Yi and Ling Shan. Otherwise, he wouldn't be talking to Ling Shan in front of Lin Yi. He didn't know that his actions had exposed his identity. Soon, the finals of the singing competition began. Tang Yun and Meng Yao walked up the stage in their best outfits. The two were about the same height, and their beauty levels were about the same as well. The moment they got on stage, it caused a commotion. Tang Yun was already taken, and Meng Yao was the daughter of a rich family. Although the boys knew that their chances weren't high, it didn't stop them from loving beauty. Even if they couldn't take it for themselves, they could at least take a look, right? The people who were invited to attend the fundraising event also began to discuss the background of the two girls. Keeping students as mistresses wasn't a secret among the rich. Meng Yao and Tang Yun, these two absolute beauties, attracted the attention of the rich. It wasn't a surprise. The two of them were already beautiful, and with makeup, they were even more beautiful. It would be strange if these people weren't tempted. However, after knowing that Meng Yao was Peng Zhan's daughter, they shifted their attention to Tang Yun. Chapter 1273. Xie Yufeng's tragedy again, but Tang Yun was different. No one knew who she was, so in everyone's eyes, she was just a commoner school beauty. But in reality, Tang Yun was indeed a commoner school beauty. And so, some people started to be tempted, and Fatty Shun was one of them. Fatty Shun came from a mining background. There were a lot of mines near Songshan City. Fatty Shun had made a lot of money in the past few years. He was a real rich man. After he had money, he began to enjoy life. He had played with countless famous models and small celebrities. But after he got tired of playing with them, Fatty Shun was more inclined to play with young and pure girls like Duaning. After Fatty Shun memorized Tang Yun's name, his eyes never left Tang Yun's body. The more he looked, the more he drooled. "Bosso, how much do you think this girl Tang Yun would cost?" Fatty Shun looked at Zhou Tianyi lecherously. Fatty Shun also had some underworld background. These days, if a miner didn't have any underworld background, he would definitely be bullied and wouldn't be able to control the situation. So, in order to get closer to Zhou Tianyi, Fatty Shun purposely sat beside him to get closer to him. "What do you mean, how much?" Zhou Tianyi was watching a performance. Today, he heard that Hayashi Lin's girlfriend was hosting a charity event, so he ran to the school to show his support. Ever since his son said that he had a relationship with Lin Yi, Zhou Tianyi was very happy. He didn't have to be afraid anymore, and he had the energy to gamble and pick up girls. Today was the perfect opportunity to please Lin Yi, so naturally, he wouldn't let it go. "Tang Yun, that girl is so pretty, with big breasts and a round butt. TSK, if I could touch it, it would be so good. Bosso, what do you think if I get her and play 3P? Fatty Shun squinted his eyes and said, "What? 3P? I'll play your mom." Zhou Tianyi jumped up, raised his arm, and gave Fatty Shun a big slap. "Motherfucker, are you trying to kill me? I don't know you. You bastard, why don't you go die?" Zhou Tianyi was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. It wasn't easy for her to mend her relationship with Hayashi Lin, but this guy actually suggested that she play Lin Yi's wife with him? Don't you want to die? If the omnipotent Hayashi Lin were to hear this and suspect him, then he would really be out of luck. In the past, Zhou Tianyi had a good impression of Fatty Shun. Fatty Shun was smart and knew how to do things. He knew how to be filial to Zhou Tianyi, so he had a good impression of him. But today he saw that this guy was a fool. Zhou Tianyi quickly drew a line between them. "Zhou boss, why did you hit me?" Fatty Shun was stunned by Zhou Tianyi's sudden attack. I know, Zhou boss, you're interested in Tang Yun, right? Don't worry, I won't fight with you. You can have her for yourself." Fatty Shun's voice wasn't soft, and when Zhou Tianyi was beating up people, he made a lot of noise. Many people were looking at him, so Fatty Shun's words were heard by them. Zhou Tianyi almost exploded when he heard Fatty Shun's words. "Your mother. Do you want to kill me first? When did I fall in love with Tang Yun? Is she someone I can fall in love with? She is Hayashi Lin's wife. I would rather stab my eyes blind than look at her. I like your mother." Zhou Tianyi kicked Fatty Shun's body. "I'm a decent person. How can I fall in love with someone else?" Tang Yun is like a goddess. Do you think I am worthy? Not to mention you, who is worse than a pig or a dog. Zhou Tiandi kicked Fatty Shen's body. Although Fatty Shen's body was fat, he didn't dare to fight back. He didn't know why Zhou Tiandi was beating him like crazy. However, gradually, Fatty Shen understood something. From Zhou Tiandi's words, could it be that Tang Yun was someone with a powerful background? Following the conflict, Song Lingshan quickly walked over. Mr. Zhou, what are you doing? How can you hit people so casually? If you don't want to participate in the charity event, you can choose to leave. Song Lingshan warned. Officer Song, we're just playing around. If you don't believe me, you can ask Fatty Shen, right? Zhou Tiandi saw that Song Lingshan had come, so he could only stop. Although he hated Fatty Shen, he couldn't just leave before the charity event started. Wouldn't it be a waste of his effort? Yeah, Officer Song, we're just playing around. Fatty Shen said with his mouth leaking air. No matter how wronged he was, he didn't dare to say anything. Although he was strong, compared to Zhou Tiandi, he was still far from it. You old bastard, how dare you? Get out of my sight. Xie Yufeng saw that Song Lingshan had come to stop the fight between Zhou Tiandi and Fatty Shen, so he came to save the damsel in distress. Xie Yufeng only wanted to show off in front of Song Lingshan, so he didn't think much and ran over, blocking in front of Song Lingshan. Zhou Tiandi and Fatty Shen didn't dare to do anything to Song Lingshan, but Fatty Shen wouldn't be polite to this bastard who came out of nowhere. He had been kicked by Zhou Tiandi before, and he had a stomach full of anger. Now that someone came to help him vent his anger, he naturally wouldn't let him go so easily. Where did you come from, kid? Who are you telling to get out of my sight? We're just playing around. What does that have to do with you? Fatty Shen looked at Xie Yufeng and asked coldly, You fatty, you're not happy? Xie Yufeng didn't want to show any weakness in front of Song Lingshan. Seeing that Fatty Shen dared to talk back to him, he was furious. You are here to donate money. We welcome you, but if you want to fuck us, don't blame me for being rude. Slap. Fatty Shen slapped Xie Yufeng's face. Who do you think you are? What are you doing here? Officer Song, there is an idiot here. Are you going to do something about it? You dare hit me? Xie Yufeng was furious. He was a mystic, the young master of House Yu, and he was slapped in the face by a fatty? If he didn't kill him, it would be a waste of his strength. But the next moment, Xie Yufeng froze. This wasn't right. They were in school. Not outside of school. In school. In front of Lin Yi. He had been hiding his strength. He couldn't reveal it. Before, because of Song Lingshan, Xie Yufeng subconsciously forgot about this, thinking that he was the young master of House Yu, not the Xie Yufeng in school. But now, he suddenly remembered that he was in school. Chapter 1274. So what if I hit you? Who do you think you are? How dare you talk nonsense in front of me? Fatty Shen. Fatty Shen sent another slap at Yufeng's face. Yufeng was shocked and angry, but there was nothing he could do. He pointed at Fatty Shen. You. He said the word you 3 times, but didn't do anything else. Evidently, Yufeng didn't dare to act rashly. Officer Song, look at this. This is such a busybody. Why didn't you take her away? I was sparring with Boss Zhou, learning from each other. What does this have to do with him? Is he an intern from your police station? Fatty Shen looked at Lingshan and pushed all the responsibility of hitting the man away. Lingshan didn't know what to do. She didn't like Xie Yufeng in the first place, and she had no intention of protecting him. Since Fatty Shen had said so, Lingshan nodded and said, Master Yu, let the police handle this. You should focus on preparing for the donation. Xie Yufeng looked at Fatty Shen coldly and thought to himself, Don't let me see you again, or else I will beat you into a cripple. Oomph. Yufeng hemphed coldly and left. Staying here would only make things awkward. If you two want to spar, go outside and spar. Here, donate. Boss Zhou and Boss Shen. You two are so active. Do you want to donate more money? Lingshan said. Of course. Officer Song, I was going to donate even if you didn't say anything. I'm going to donate 500,000. Tiandi said generously. Lingshan couldn't help but be taken aback. She said all that just to make Tiandi and Fatty Shen bleed, but from what she saw, these mafia bosses would at most donate 10 or 20,000. She didn't expect Tiandi to donate 500,000 all at once. Lingshan froze. She had to reevaluate her impression of Tiandi. Did this guy turn over a new leaf? And he's become passionate about charity and public welfare? That would be a blessing for Songshan. Fatty Shun was also stunned. He didn't think that Zhou Tiandi would be so generous to donate 500,000. He came here just to join in the fun. He planned to donate 10 or 20,000, but since Zhou Tiandi said so, Fatty Shun didn't want to donate too little. He said, "I'm also going to donate 100,000. Lingshan's face was a little weird. She wanted to find an excuse to kick these two out, but it seemed like it was better to keep them around. Since these two were so compassionate and had decided to donate so much money, Lingshan naturally wouldn't let them go. Looks like the two bosses are quite compassionate. I won't disturb you then. You guys can continue." Lingshan nodded and left. Donating money was fine. Sparring if you wanted to. After sitting down, Fatty Shin asked, "Boss, so what happened to you just now? What did I say wrong?" "Humph. You almost got me killed. Thank goodness I made myself clear in time, and Hayashi Lin didn't blame me. Otherwise I would have died because of you." Tiandi humphed coldly. "Ah, Hayashi Lin? Who is that?" Fatty Shin froze. "In Songshan, there aren't many people that I, Zhou Tiandi, am afraid of. I'm just giving him some face. There's no need to be afraid. But there's one person I'm afraid of, and that's Lin, Hayashi Lin." Tiandi said, "This person is too scary. In Songshan, this person is not someone you can offend." "Ah." Fatty Shin froze. "Lin E? I've never heard of him." "You don't need to have heard of him. At your level, you won't be able to come into contact with such a powerful person. But remember, those two girls on the stage don't have any bad intentions, or you will die a horrible death. You will really die. Don't think that I'm just trying to scare you." Tiandi said seriously. "Ah, I understand." Fatty Shin quickly nodded. No matter what, he remembered Tiandi's words. In the future, if he met any Lin, or Hayashi Lin, he would try to avoid them as much as possible. If even Tiandi was afraid of them, then they were definitely not easy to get along with. The fundraising event had begun. The voting power was just to give these celebrities a sense of balance, but in reality, they didn't get any substantial benefits. Thank you all for your enthusiastic participation. The top 10 of the singing competition has been decided. Now, let's welcome director Wang Jifeng to announce the winners. Tang Yin didn't have stage fright after a short period of time, but when she saw director Wang Jifeng walking over, she felt that life was really strange. The scene where she accidentally poured the bucket on Wang Jifeng was still vivid in her mind. Now, she was the host, and her relationship with Wang Jifeng wasn't bad either. Tang Yin didn't think that there would be a day where she would become the center of attention in school. In fact, who didn't want to be the center of attention? In the past, Tang Yin was afraid. She didn't have a sense of security. She was afraid that her beauty would bring her trouble, so she had to keep a low profile. Even so, it still caused some unnecessary trouble. But now that she was with Lin E, no matter how high profile she was, no one would dare to do anything to her. The guest seats were very close to the T stage, and Tiandi and Fatty Shun were sitting at the very front. How could Tang Yin not hear their conversation? Seeing Tiandi beat up Fatty Shun, Tang Yin thought it was funny. But the truth was, these bad people were afraid of Lin E, and she benefited a lot from it. The list of winners was read out. The top 10 winners received a certificate and prize money from Wang Jifeng. However, because it was a fundraising event, the winner of the first place announced on the spot that he would donate his prize money to the children of the orphanage. With the first winner taking the lead, the other winners also generously donated their prize money. Among them, there was a rich student who donated an extra 2,000 yuan, which received a warm applause. After this process, it was time for the free donation. First, it was the students and teachers who donated, and finally, it was the celebrities who donated. Xie Yufeng didn't donate with the students because he wanted to be in the limelight. He waited until Meng Yao announced that the celebrities would donate, and then he stood up. Originally, Tiandi wanted to be the first to stand up. He was here to support Lin E, so he wanted to show his initiative and enthusiasm. But he didn't expect that Xie Yufeng would take the initiative. Chapter 1275. Xie Yufeng was pissed. Do I have to queue up to donate? Xie Yufeng wanted to be the first to donate and leave a good impression on Lingshan, but he didn't expect to make a fool out of himself. Fatty Shen ruined his plan again. At this time, the students who didn't know what was going on were discussing among themselves. Isn't Xie Yufeng a student? Why is he donating with people from the society? A student said, That's right. Is he trying to show off that he's rich and that he's a celebrity? Another student said, Xie Yufeng's face turned ugly. He wanted to show off, but he didn't expect it to turn out like this. Xie Yufeng looked at Fatty Shun with hatred. Forget it, Fatty Shun. Let someone else donate first. Everyone is giving their love, so it doesn't matter who donates first. Zhou Tianyi didn't rush to donate anymore. Since something like this happened, and the young man was already on the stage, if he rushed to donate first, then Lin Yi would see that he was trying to flatter Lin Yi. It would be a bit pretentious, so he might as well let him go first. Oomph. You're lucky, you donate first. Fatty Shun let go of Xie Yufeng and said. Xie Yufeng's face was full of resentment. What was going on? He just donated, and he got himself into trouble. Donating was supposed to be a very glorious thing, and Xie Yufeng wanted to use this opportunity to show off his style. But now, there was a fatty standing next to him, as if he was supervising him, urging him to hurry up. This made Xie Yufeng go crazy. For the orphans of the orphanage to have a good life, I've decided to donate 200,000. Xie Yufeng walked up to the stage proudly and said to Tang Yun and Meng Yao, Thank you for your support, Xie Yufeng. Tang Yun smiled sweetly and nodded to Xie Yufeng. Although she didn't like this Xie Yufeng, Tang Yun was the host, and Xie Yufeng was the donor. She couldn't look at him with emotion. Originally, Xie Yufeng wanted to take the microphone and say a few words. He had donated 200,000, and from Xie Yufeng's point of view, 200,000 was the highest amount that the arena had ever donated. He wanted to show off in front of Lingshan, but just as he was about to ask Tang Yin for the microphone, he heard Fatty Shun say, 200,000 and you still want to speak? Hurry up and go down. Don't waste any more time. Boss So is going to donate 500,000 yuan later. Fatty Shin's voice was very loud, and it was heard through the microphone in Tang Yun's hand. It made all the students present burst into laughter. Yufeng felt his face heated. This was the most embarrassing moment he'd ever been in his entire life. The last few times he'd been embarrassed, Lin Yi had seen it, but it was only in a small area. Most people didn't see it, but today not only did he do it in front of the whole school, he did it in front of Lingshan. Yufeng felt that if he didn't say anything, he'd be a coward. However, when he looked at the tall and sturdy Fatty Shun, he felt that if he didn't use his qi, he wouldn't be his opponent. So, Xie Yufeng could only take a step back and vent his anger on Tang Yin. Why didn't you turn off the microphone? Do you want to die? Yufeng's voice went through the microphone in Tang Yun's hand, and it spread to the whole school. Instantly, the whole school was in an uproar. Although some people thought that Yufeng's actions were funny, they only felt that it was funny. But now they looked down on Yufeng. Why was this person so uncultured? Scolding the MC? What did it have to do with the MC? Is this kid crazy? Is he crazy? Why is he acting like a mad dog? He made a fool of himself, and now he's scolding others? Student A asked curiously. Hey, you can't tell, right? How is he crazy? He's very smart. He's bullying the weak and afraid of the strong. He didn't dare to do anything to that fatty, so he started scolding the MC. Student B explained. But this MC, isn't she Lin Yi's girlfriend? This Xie Yufeng is going to be unlucky. Student C said sympathetically. As expected, they were right. From the moment Tang Yun was scolded to the moment Lin Yi jumped on the stage, Lin Yi kicked Yufeng's chest and kicked him off the stage. After that, Lin Yi didn't stop. He didn't even say anything to Tang Yun, and he went back to his seat. This was the first time Lin Yi had a direct conflict with Yufeng in a public place. Before, Lin Yi didn't know Yufeng's background, and Yufeng didn't do anything that crossed Lin Yi's bottom line, so Lin Yi didn't do anything to him. He let him stay in the school, but today, Yufeng's scolding made Lin Yi angry. Your wife is the one. Even if she is, she's the only one who's flirting with me. And so, Lin, he didn't hold back and kicked Yufeng off the stage. Although Lin, he didn't know how Yufeng broke through and became a mystic mid-phase in just a few days, Lin, he was already a mystic mid-phase peak. Naturally, he wasn't afraid of him. If he wanted to fight, then fight. Lin, he couldn't kill him. Yufeng didn't think that Lin, he would kick him off the stage like this. Yufeng froze. But then, he realized that the MC on the stage was Lin Yi's girlfriend. He didn't know what to say and scolded her. And now Lin, he was here for revenge? Yufeng fell off the stage, and he had a murderous urge. He decided to discuss it with his father tonight. He wanted to kill Lin Yi. Of course, in school, in front of everyone, especially in front of Lingshan, Yufeng had no choice but to hold it in for now. Even if he was a disciple of House Yu, killing someone in school was enough to cause him trouble. Yufeng stood up gloomily, but he didn't have the face to stay in school anymore. He walked out of the school. 200,000. Not only did he not get anything good, but he also got himself a bad name. Seeing Yufeng leave the school with his tail between his legs, the students mocked him, and some cursed him. None of them had anything good to say. The conflict between Lin Yi and Xie Yufeng happened in a very short period of time, so it didn't cause too much of a commotion. With Yufeng's gloomy departure, everyone's attention returned to the event. Chapter 1276. Thank you, Xie Yufeng, for the 200,000 donation. I would like to thank him on behalf of the orphanage. Meng Yao pulled back the atmosphere of the event with a smile, as if she didn't see Yufeng leaving with his tail between his legs. Next, Zhou Tiandi went on stage, representing Tiandi Entertainment Group, and donated 500,000 to the orphanage. The audience cheered for him. Compared to Xie Yufeng's 200,000, Zhou Tiandi's donation was a huge amount. Thank you, Chairman Zhou. Tang Yin knew that he was Zhou Ruoming's father, but thinking about how respectful Zhou Ruoming was to her now, her resentment was gone. Tang Yin even felt grateful to Zhou Ruoming. If he didn't bully her, she wouldn't be in contact with Lin Yi. In the end, he was her matchmaker. No need to thank me. It's our responsibility to help the orphanage. Madam Tang Yin is hosting this event, so I'm willing to pay for it. Zhou Tiandi said this to Lin Yi. It was obvious that he was supporting Tang Yin. If it weren't for Lin Yi, he wouldn't have donated so much money. Haha, I would like to thank Chairman Zhou again. Tang Yin smiled. She wasn't stupid and naturally understood what Zhou Tiandi meant. Zhou Tiandi donated and left the stage happily. Today's mission was complete. Next, many famous local entrepreneurs also went on stage, but the amount wasn't as much as Zhou Tiandi. It ranged from 10,000 to 50,000, but it wasn't a huge amount. This was within Tang Yun and Ming Yao's expectations. After all, this was just a small charity event organized by the school. It was already good enough that these people were willing to donate because of Peng Zhan. Only Zhou Tiandi donated because of Lin Yi. Of course, Lin Yi didn't inform Fatty Lai. Lin Yi didn't want to do this, so Fatty Lai could just use the name of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company to donate to the orphanage. He didn't need to go through the school's event. Doing good deeds was not for others to see, and Lin Yi did not want to gain any false reputation. Now, let's enter the next segment of the event, the auction. Tang Yun announced the next segment after calculating the total amount of donations. The items in this auction are all donated by everyone, and the proceeds will be donated to the orphanage. Ming Yao said. Ming Yao might have said that, but most of the auction items were donated by Ming Yao, and some were taken out by Peng Zhan. These were the things that the tycoons cared about the most. As the richest man in Songzhan, Peng Zhan must have a lot of treasures in his house. The previous donations were just an appetizer. The real main course was this auction. Expensive calligraphy and paintings, as well as rare treasures, were the favorites of these celebrities. The first auction item is a painting donated by the principal, Ding Binggong. It was created by Ding Binggong, and everyone knows about his reputation. Tang Yin introduced the first auction item. Since this wasn't a formal auction, and there were no big screens or picture books, Tang Yin could only say it out loud. Yushu and Xiao Xiao were in charge of displaying the items. Ding Binggong was a painter, and he wasn't that famous in the country, but he was a famous person in the academic world. His paintings were quite good, and many people in Songshan sought after them. Of course, the price wasn't very high either. The most expensive one sold for 50,000, and that was an award-winning work. The painting that was being auctioned right now, although it was painstakingly drawn, wasn't worth as much as an award-winning work. 2,000. The starting price was 1,000, and soon, someone raised the price to 2,000. 3,000. The price continued to rise until it reached 8,000, and it was taken by an entrepreneur. Of course, 8,000 was already enough to satisfy Ding Bing Gong. The price of his paintings was maintained at around 5,000, and 8,000 was already a high price. The following items were some birthday gifts Meng Yao received, some expensive handicrafts from Peng Zhan, and some donated by Yushu. Of course, there were donations from normal students and teachers as well, but most of them weren't worth much. 1,800 was already a lot. Only Meng Yao's root carvings and Peng Zhan's inkstone were sold at a high price. Obviously, these celebrities at the scene were also people who knew what was good and what was valuable. They could tell at a glance what was good and what was valuable. The next item is the last item of this auction. Tang Yin picked up the list and read. The last item is a kiss donated by Meng Yao. Tang Yin paused after reading the auction list. The miss on the side froze as well. Who added her own kiss? Who added this? What kind of joke was this? But, seeing Shu winking at her from the side, Meng Yao understood what was going on. The list of items had always been organized by Shu and Xiao Xiao, and the auction wasn't very formal. So after the list was organized, Meng Yao and Tang Yin didn't look at it in advance and read it out directly. At this time, the words had already been said, and Meng Yao couldn't go back on her words. Although this was related to her reputation, an auction was an auction. Who would believe it if she said it was a joke? Even if someone would believe it, Meng Yao didn't want to embarrass herself. Meng Yao really wanted to beat the crap out of her when she saw Shu winking at her. This Shu was asking for a beating. What the hell was she doing? However, before Meng Yao could say anything, Yushu ran over and grabbed the microphone from Tang Yun's hand. School bell. Meng Yao's kiss. The auction starts now. The starting price is 10,000. Start bidding now. Meng Yao was furious as she glared at Yushu. She didn't know what Yushu was trying to do. Was this a joke? However, Meng Yao wasn't stupid. She thought of a possibility. Could it be that Yushu prepared it for Lin Yi? To let Lin Yi get a kiss from her? Thinking about little Shu's usual behavior, this guess was indeed possible. Meng Yao was embarrassed and angry at the same time, but she was relieved. It was fine if it was taken by Lin Yi, but if it was taken by someone else, Meng Yao would rather die. Chapter 1277. What dash? The audience was in an uproar, their eyes wide open as they stared at Meng Yao in shock. They didn't think that the last item would be so explosive and novel. She was the school's princess, the idol of many boys. However, most of the students also knew that they would not be able to enjoy this kiss. After all, the starting price of 10,000 yuan was enough to make people flinch. Moreover, this was only the starting price. In a while, the price would increase to a terrifying number. As a board member of the school, Peng Zhan naturally attended this fundraiser as well. He was stunned when he heard that Yushu was auctioning off Meng Yao's kiss. What was the meaning of this? Judging from his daughter's reaction, it seemed like she didn't know. Was it Shu, the troublemaker, who did this again? Peng Zhan felt a headache coming on. If this kiss was won by Lin Yi, his daughter wouldn't say anything. But if it was won by someone else, then he'd be screwed. That was why Peng Zhan felt a headache coming on when he saw this. If Lin Yi wasn't going to make a move, then he'd have to do it himself. It was natural for a daughter to kiss her father. It wasn't a big deal. Bing Gong and Ji Feng looked at each other as well. This was a high school, and auctioning off a kiss was indeed a little overboard. But this was a public charity event, after all, and it wasn't their place to stop it. Moreover, the person in question was Peng Zhan's daughter, and if Peng Zhan wasn't doing anything, what could they possibly do? Jiang Wen's eyes lit up as he sat below the stage. He wasn't here for charity. He only had one goal, and that was to see Meng Yao. He heard that Meng Yao was the host, and so he brought Tai Zhao to Songshan's first school to find a seat among the audience. Jiang Wen, on the other hand, wasn't very interested in the previous auction items. As the young master of house and a family that supported the Firewolf gang, he had quite a collection. Many of them were smuggled in and treasured, so he didn't really care about the ordinary items. But this last item made Jiang Wen's eyes light up. And bro, Ming Yao's kiss. Isn't this what you want? I think this is a great opportunity for you. Tai Zhao chimed in happily from his side. But Ming Yao hasn't been very nice to me lately. If I get this kiss, won't she be happy? Jiang Wen was hesitating now that things had come to this point. How could that be? Since Ming Yao put her kiss up for auction, she has to accept that someone else will buy it. Tai Zhao said, why would she put it up for auction if she wasn't mentally prepared? And looking at this boxing arena, the only one who has the strength and is willing to spend money to get this kiss is you, brother, and other people wouldn't like her either. They would definitely feel that it wasn't worth it to spend so much money on a kiss. But you're different, brother, and that makes sense. Jiang Wen nodded. So you're saying that it's prepared for me, then? Not for that, Lin. How is that possible? If they really wanted Lin Yi to kiss her, they could have just done it at home. Why are they auctioning it off? They're just looking for trouble. Tai Zhao analyzed. You're right. Then I'll bid for it. Jiang Wen nodded, full of fighting spirit. This is Yao Yao's first kiss. Yushu continued to add fuel to the fire. Anyone want to bid? 10,000 is so cheap. How much? Jiang Wen asked softly as he looked at Tai Zhao. This wasn't a good price. If he gave too little, it'd seem like he was looking down on Meng Yao, and if he gave too much, it'd seem like he was a big spender. How about 50,000? Not too much, not too little. That's so expensive. I don't think anyone will fight with you. Tai Zhao said after some hesitation. All right. Jiang Wen raised his hand. I'll give you 50,000. Meng Yao frowned. She wasn't expecting Jiang Wen to be a part of this, and this made her feel a little troubled. What was Shu doing? What if Jiang Wen got the kiss? But Meng Yao couldn't lose her temper on stage. She was Peng Zhan's daughter and the host of the fundraiser. What would others think of her if she flipped out on the spot? Tang Yun was the one who announced the item, and others would think that she was unhappy with Tang Yun, and Yushu was adding fuel to the fire. What if she fell out with her best friend? Even if she explained that she didn't know about the kiss, who would believe her? Someone's bid 50,000. Anyone else? Yushu didn't expect Yao Yao's kiss to be sold for 50,000. That was a lot of money. 60,000. Lin Yi didn't know what Yushu was up to, but it was obvious that the miss didn't want to give the kiss to Jiang Wen. As her bodyguard and live-in friend, he had no choice but to make a move. 60,000. Someone has bid 60,000. Is there anyone who wants to bid higher? That brave and handsome guy from before? Yushu looked at Jiang Wen. Jiang Wen saw Yushu's gaze and heard Yushu call him a brave and handsome guy. He felt good about himself all of a sudden, thinking that Yushu was hinting that the kiss was tailor-made for him. That made him even more excited. Otherwise, why would Yushu call him a brave and handsome guy? After all, Meng Yao liked brave people the most. Could it be that Yushu wanted him to be with Meng Yao? With that thought, Jiang Wen was filled with fighting spirit. He stood up and shouted, 100,000. I'll bid 100,000. Wah dash, the crowd was shocked again. One kiss was worth 100,000. Wasn't that too shocking? But in fact, 100,000 wasn't the highest price. The guys who were fantasizing about it gave up. Although they liked Meng Yao, 100,000 for a kiss was too high a price. 200,000. Lin Yi stretched out his hand and said faintly. Although Lin Yi didn't know if the miss would be embarrassed if he won the kiss, he knew that the miss would be unhappy if Jiang Wen won the kiss. Although the Miracle Dr. Guan Medical Company's funds were tight, Lin Yi could still take out 200,000. Other things aside, the pocket money that Peng Zhan gave him was enough for 200,000. But why did it feel so awkward to use the money that Peng Zhan gave him to buy a kiss from his daughter? Chapter 1278. Jiang Wen was pissed when he heard Lin Yi's second bid. He couldn't help but rage. You're just a little bodyguard, and you're going against me? How much money do you have? Peng Zhan gave it to you, didn't he? Using it to buy Ming Yao's kiss? Are you an idiot? Yeah. Tai Zhao nodded. This guy doesn't know his place. And bro, you can kill him with money if you want. That's right. You want to compete with me and Jiang Wen? What a joke. Jiang Wen's underground arena had been making a lot of money recently, and it was a profitable business. Jiang Wen had made a lot of money, and now was the time to be rich. He stood up and said, 300,000. I'll pay 300,000. Someone's paying 300,000. Yushu said excitedly. 300,000. Anyone higher? With that, Yushu gave Xiao Xiao a look. Xiao Xiao knew what Yushu meant immediately. The two were of the same mind, as expected of a troublemaker duo. One look was all it took to know what the other was thinking. Xiao Xiao sneakily took out her phone and sent a text to Lin Yi. Lin Yi, honey, you can raise the price, but you have to let Jiang Wen win. Lin Yi was about to bid when his phone rang. Lin Yi took out his phone and looked at the text, pausing. He didn't know what was going on, but he knew that Xiao Xiao had something up her sleeves. No matter how messed up she was with Yushu, she wouldn't joke about Mingyao's kiss. Lin Yi smiled and raised his hand. 350,000. Lin Yi was going to say 500,000, but after seeing Xiao Xiao's text, he changed it to 350,000. He didn't want to scare Jiang Wen off. Ha! Lin Yi started to raise the price by 50,000. He's out of money. Tai Zhao said gleefully. That's for sure. I have to win this time. Jiang Wen smiled and stood up. 400,000. 400,000? Lin Yi felt that this was already a very high price. He estimated that Jiang Wen's mental capacity should be around 500,000, and so Lin Yi stood up after some hesitation. 450,000. 500,000. Jiang Wen said without hesitation. But Lin Yi didn't know if he should continue or not. He was afraid that Jiang Wen would give up and ruin Yushu and Xiao Xiao's plan. And so, Lin Yi raised his head to look at Xiao Xiao, who was giving him a look. Lin Yi estimated that the price was about right, and so Lin Yi reached out his hand and sat back down, looking like he had no choice but to give up. In truth, Lin Yi didn't even want to do it. As far as Yushu and Xiao Xiao were concerned, 500,000 was already a lot. What if Jiang Wen gave up on the deal? Then he wouldn't be able to achieve his goal of tricking him. But just as Yushu was about to say, 500,000, is there anyone else? Someone else called out. The bidder was Chu Pingzhan. 800,000. Pengzhan reached out his hand and said faintly. To Pengzhan, 800,000 was nothing. He could do a good deed and get a kiss from his daughter at the same time. It was a good deal. Lin Yi, on the other hand, paused. He didn't expect Pengzhan to make a bid when he gave up. Lin Yi looked at the stunned Xiao Xiao and Yushu on the stage, and he jumped in fright. He didn't want to let Pengzhan ruin these two girls' plans. And so, Lin Yi quickly forwarded Xiao Xiao's text to Pengzhan. Time was of the essence, and Lin Yi didn't have time to edit it, so he sent Lin Yi hubby as well. But he was sure that Pengzhan would understand. Pengzhan's phone rang after he called out the price. Pengzhan sat back in his seat and pulled out his phone to look at the message. HM? Pengzhan froze. Lin Yi, honey, you can raise the price, but you have to let in Jiang Wen get it. Lin Yi said. Lin Yi hubby? Pengzhan blinked. How did he become Lin Yi's hubby? Did they send it to the wrong person? He quickly looked at the sender's number, but seeing that it was from Lin Yi, it must have been Lin Yi who forwarded it. It was probably either Tang Yin or Xiao Xiao who sent this message to Lin Yi, telling Lin Yi to give up. That meant that they didn't want to auction off Mingyao's kiss, but had a backup plan? At that thought, Pengzhan regretted that he'd rushed a bid. Wouldn't he scare Jiang Wen off? Plus, he'd increase the price by 300,000. Would Jiang Wen continue to increase the price? Indeed, Pengzhan's sudden bid did scare Jiang Wen. He didn't expect Pengzhan to suddenly bid. What was the meaning of this? Did he not want him to win Mingyao's kiss? Or was he testing him? Why hadn't Pengzhan made a bid before? Why did Lin Yi make a bid when Pengzhan didn't? And so, Jiang Wen hesitated. Tai Zhao, what do you think Pengzhan is doing? Why did he suddenly bid? That? And bro, I think that Pengzhan is testing you, to see how much you care about Mengyao. Mengyao is a rich girl, and 500,000 for a first kiss isn't that much. So, Pengzhan is trying to raise Mengyao's value, and also to see if you really like Mengyao. Tai Zhao analyzed. If you really like her, you wouldn't care about spending a few 100,000. If you don't, you'd give up. That makes sense. Jiang Wen patted Tai Zhao's shoulder. Then tell me, Why didn't Pengzhan bid when Lin Yi was bidding? Could it be that Pengzhan has high hopes for Lin Yi? Not necessarily. I think it was because Lin Yi was bidding and Pengzhan didn't need to bid. Now that Lin Yi gave up, he decided to bid. Tai Zhao said, I see. Then was that Meng Yao's first kiss? Could it be that Yushu made it up? Didn't she say that Meng Yao gave her first kiss to Lin Yi? Zhang Wen asked suspiciously. How can you believe Yushu's words? That girl is full of lies, and we've been tricked by her all these years. I think that she might have given her first kiss to Lin Yi, but definitely not to Meng Yao. Tai Zhao sighed. Can't you tell? Yushu seems to like Lin Yi a little, and she doesn't want to be separated from Meng Yao. That's why she's always urging Meng Yao to marry Lin Yi and be his first wife. Chapter 1279. Yushu thought that no one else was going to bid for 800,000, but her plan was ruined by Uncle Chu. She couldn't ask Xiao Xiao to send him a message, could she? Plus, Uncle Chu had already bid, so there was no point in hinting anymore. Zhang Wen hadn't made a bid yet. 1 million. Just when Yushu thought that it was over, Zhang Wen jumped up and bid again. Yushu was very happy. Wow, there's still a strong bidder. 1 million. Yao Yao's first kiss is already worth 1 million. Are there any higher bids? I don't think so, right? 1 million going once, 1 million going twice, 1 million going thrice sold. Congratulations, Zhang Wen, for getting Yao Yao's first kiss. Yushu couldn't wait any longer, as if she wanted to sell Meng Yao's first kiss to Zhang Wen. Seeing how much Yushu wanted him to get Meng Yao's first kiss, Zhang Wen was overjoyed. Even Meng Yao's best friend was helping him. He had a 90% chance of getting the miss this time. It seemed that Yushu had thought it through and wanted to push Meng Yao to him. Waha! Zhang Wen was so happy. He could feel that Yushu was helping him. Even Pengzhan hadn't been able to make a bid before Yushu made the final call. Thank you for your support, everyone. Zhang Wen stood up. He couldn't wait any longer. Other auctioneers would just swipe their cards and transfer the money and get the item on the spot. Zhang Wen, on the other hand, naturally wanted to get Meng Yao's first kiss right now. Now, let's welcome Zhang Wen to the stage to receive the item. Yushu replaced Tang Yun and Meng Yao as the host. Meng Yao, on the other hand, didn't know what to do. What was this Shu trying to do? Was she crazy? She wanted her to kiss Zhang Wen? Why didn't she just kill her? Meng Yao was anxious, but she couldn't get angry. She just frowned and didn't know what to do. Zhang Wen, on the other hand, couldn't wait any longer as he walked up the stage. Zhang Wen, please swipe your card first. Yushu handed the POS machine to Zhang Wen and said seriously, Okay, I'll do it now. Zhang Wen smiled happily as he took out his bank card and swiped 1 million over, whispering, Thank you, Shu sis. Don't worry, if I manage to get Yao Yao, you'll get a lot of benefits. Thank you for your generosity, Zhang Wen classmate. Yushu, on the other hand, ignored Zhang Wen. Now, let's welcome Zhang Wen to receive the auction items. Now? Can we do it now? Zhang Wen was very excited, salivating as he looked at Meng Yao's cold face. Of course, Yushu said, Yao Yao's first kiss is already yours. Wah, I won't hold back then. With that, Zhang Wen started walking toward Meng Yao. Meng Yao glared at Yushu. Did Shu lose her mind? How could he do such a thing? Kissing Zhang Wen? Zhang Wen, where did you go? Over here. Xiao Xiao's classmate will give you the item. Yushu grabbed Zhang Wen and pulled him back. Xiao Xiao, isn't it Meng Yao? Zhang Wen paused. Why would he want Xiao Xiao's first kiss? Xiao Xiao was pretty, but spending 1 million to buy a kiss from someone like her. Wasn't he an idiot? Here it is. Xiao Xiao took out a water sculpture from a box and held it in her hands. Zhang Wen classmate, this is for you. This is Meng Yao's first kiss. What? Zhang Wen paused. What first kiss is this? This is a first kiss. Look. Xiao Xiao held up the sculpture. This is a sculpture made from Meng Yao's kiss mark. This is Meng Yao's first kiss. The sculpture in Xiao Xiao's hands looked like the hand marks of celebrities, except that this was a kiss mark made into the crystal. It was a souvenir. This is the first kiss. Zhang Wen looked at the sculpture in Xiao Xiao's hands and almost cried. 1 million for a piece of broken glass? Was there a mistake? This was the first kiss? Was this a scam? Yeah, isn't it written here? Mingyao's first kiss, Yushu said, pointing at the sculpture in Xiao Xiao's hands. The crowd burst into laughters. All the students could see that Jiang Wen had been scammed. She was playing a word game, saying that this was Meng Yao's first kiss, but she didn't say that Meng Yao was the one who kissed him. Jiang Wen's face was very ugly. He didn't think that Yushu would come up with something like this. He finally understood that he'd been played by Yushu again. Jiang Wen wanted to curse. He'd spent so much money to buy a piece of trash like this. Meng Yao finally understood why Yushu was auctioning off her kiss. It was all for Jiang Wen's sake. Even Meng Yao didn't remember this sculpture, but she seemed to have made it with Yushu in a shop back in middle school. She'd never looked at it again after that. She didn't know how Yushu found it, but she took it out and sold it for 1 million. With that thought, Meng Yao couldn't help but laugh. It seemed that she'd worried for nothing. Shu was really evil, tricking Jiang Wen like this. 1 million gone just like that. But while this sculpture was her own kiss mark, Meng Yao didn't really want to give it to Jiang Wen. This was her real kiss mark, after all. What if Jiang Wen took it and did something disgusting to her? But in comparison, this was a result that Meng Yao could accept. If she was that worried, then Jiang Wen might take her picture and do something disgusting to her. Jiang Wen couldn't do anything. He'd been scammed, but he'd bought it willingly, and he couldn't get mad on the stage. If he did, wouldn't he look petty? Meng Yao's impression of him would be even worse. And so, Jiang Wen could only accept his fate. He walked over with an ugly smile on his face, taking the sculpture from Xiao Xiao's hands. But as soon as he touched it, it felt slippery, and with a whoosh, it fell off the stage, shattering into pieces. Chapter 1280. Fuck. It was only then that Jiang Wen realized that the sculpture was covered in a slippery substance, and his hands were still feeling sticky and slippery. Jiang Wen was about to explode. What the hell was this? Sorry, I spilled some lubricant on it, so it's a bit slippery. It's just that you broke it. It has nothing to do with me, Xiao Xiao said with an evil smile on her face. Jiang Wen's eyes widened as he clutched his chest. He was pissed to death. Lubricant? How could there be lubricant on the sculpture? This Xiao Xiao must have done it on purpose. Fuck. This girl was as bad as Yushu. He was screwed. Jiang Wen had been comforting himself with the fact that he bought a sculpture for 1 million. So be it. It was a broken piece of glass, but it was still Meng Yao's kiss mark. He couldn't use it, but he could still go home and fantasize about it. However, this time it was great. It was directly smashed into pieces. There was not even a single thought left. It directly turned into a large pile of glass shards. Wow, Jiang Wen classmate, you're so generous. 1 million for a sound, Yushu said as she looked at Jiang Wen with admiration. Jiang Wen wanted to curse, but he knew that he was on a stage and Meng Yao was watching. If he was too stingy, Meng Yao would hate him even more. He had no choice but to cry and laugh. It's okay, haha. With that, Jiang Wen didn't have the face to stay on the stage anymore. He got off the stage and walked back to his seat with his head lowered. The audience didn't know that there was lubricant on the sculpture. They thought that Jiang Wen was angry that he bought 1 million for a broken piece of glass, and so he smashed it. He didn't want to smash it, so he pretended that he accidentally dropped it on the ground and broke it. Meng Yao let out a breath of relief. Even she started to pity Jiang Wen. This poor guy, meeting Yushu and Xiao Xiao was just as bad luck. These two girls were really ruthless, too. Not only did they scam him of 1 million, they even went as far as to smash the sculpture. Meng Yao, naturally, didn't believe that the lubricant was accidentally spilled on the sculpture. Xiao Xiao probably did it on purpose. Why didn't she warn Jiang Wen first? Something like this could have been avoided with just a reminder, so he must have purposely made Jiang Wen fall on the ground. Meng Yao didn't have to worry about Jiang Wen doing anything bad with the crystal statue, though. This made her feel much better. Xiao Xiao and Yushu, on the other hand, looked at each other, seeing the evil smirk in each other's eyes. He didn't know what to say as he looked at Jiang Wen's sad face. But Yushu and Xiao Xiao, these two girls were really something. Jiang Wen had no choice but to swallow his grievances. The fundraiser came to an end after Jiang Wen's high price. The total amount was close to 2 million, and to the orphanage, it was a drop in the bucket. But that was all they could do, at least lessening the pressure on the orphanage. Lin Yi could have told Lingshan not to be so strict on the theft, but Lin Yi didn't do that. Lingshan had her own principles, and Lin Yi didn't want her to change anything. After all, what Xiaoke was doing wasn't right. She could only continue to live in the dark and rely on herself. But even if it was 2 million, Xiaoke was already very happy. At the very least, this 2 million was enough to last him for a period of time if he continued to live such a simple and hard life. After getting kicked by Lin Yi, Yufeng rushed to his apartment in Songshan and called his father, Shueixing. He couldn't hold it in anymore. He had to teach Lin Yi a lesson. "Phone? Why are you calling me now? Aren't you in school?" Shueixing picked up the phone, confused. "Dad, I got kicked by Lin Yi today, and I can't hold it in anymore. I'm going to kill him." Yufeng screamed as soon as he picked up the phone. "Oh." Shueixing paused. "You got kicked by Lin Yi? What happened?" "It's like this." Yufeng told his father what happened today. "I just casually cursed at his girlfriend, and he suddenly came on stage and kicked me off. Don't you think that's too much?" With Lin Yi's protective personality, it's not strange. But it's been so long, and you still don't know Lin Yi's background, and you don't know what level Lin Yi's strength is at, either. I'm worried that you'll get into trouble if you act rashly. Shueixing was a rather calm person, and he looked at the situation more holistically. Yufeng, the noble house meeting is starting soon, and it's best not to cause trouble now. House Xiao is so powerful, and the Xiao family has the hidden house pies help as well. Why aren't they causing trouble for Lin Yi? There's probably more to this than meets the eye. But I can't accept this. I've lost all my face today, and if I don't get it back, I won't be able to stay in school anymore. Yufeng said, unwilling to give up. That's something that can't be done. You have to learn to endure in order to achieve greatness. Shueixing sighed. House Yu used to be the strongest house in the world, but now that they have the support of House Pai, the Xiao family isn't much weaker than us, and the hidden House Zhao is even stronger than us. If they don't make a move, why should we be the ones to do it? If we don't handle this right, and there really is some sort of master behind Lin Yi, then it'd be a disaster for House Yu. Annihilation? It can't be that serious, right? Don't we have the support of the hidden House Yu behind us? Yufeng jumped, calming down quite a bit. Chapter 1281. SSSS. Yufeng sucked in a cold breath. So you're saying that Lin Yi's background might be really strong? Yes. That's why I didn't let you do anything rash. I've been talking to your brother these past few days, and I know these secrets. I didn't have time to remind you. Shueixing said, Thank goodness you didn't act rashly. Man, so you're just going to give up like this? Yufeng wasn't too happy, but after hearing his father's words, he felt that things were getting serious. He was arrogant, but he wasn't an idiot. He knew that his father wouldn't lie to him. How about this? Don't look into Lin Yi's background for now. Focus on getting close to Lingshan, and I'll announce this decision during the Noble House meeting. It'll increase House Yu's power and influence in the Noble House meeting. Shueixing sighed. Now that Family Xiao has House Pai's support, they're threatening our position. If we let Family Xiao grow, then we might not be able to control the Noble House meeting and the ranking. So, let's put Lin Yi's matter aside for now. All right, but Lingshan doesn't seem like me. She's a little cold. Yufeng said, a little troubled. Then I won't go to school. I don't have the face to go there anymore. All right, you don't have to go to school for now. We'll wait until the Noble House meeting is over and we confirm the position of the new generation of House Yu. Then we'll go all out to deal with Lin Yi. It'll be easier that way. Let him have his fun for a few days. Yufeng really wanted to cause trouble for Lin Yi, but Shueixing was stopping him. He could only give up on that thought, but he couldn't let it out. It was just that he was pissed off that he couldn't vent it out. Time flew by, and Xiao Xiao's illness acted up again. Although it happened right in front of Lin, he had to use half of his blood to wake her up. If it weren't for the fact that Lin Yi was a practitioner, he probably wouldn't have been able to hold on. Just as old Lin had said, Xiao Xiao's condition was getting worse and worse. Each time it happened, it was more severe than the last, and the cold energy in her body was getting more and more overbearing. A little bit of blood was enough to suppress it, but now it took more than half of his blood to be effective. This made Lin Yi's heart sink. If this continued, it would probably be all of his blood next time. Although Lin Yi had the art of dragon mastery to heal, Lin Yi didn't know if his blood would always be effective. Now, he had developed a resistance to the cold yin qi. This time, it was very obvious. But in order to reassure Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi still had a smile on his face when Xiao Xiao woke up, as if nothing had happened. I'm alive again? Xiao Xiao opened her eyes and looked at the nervous Lin Yi, Meng Yao, Yu Shu, and Tang Yun. Tang Yun had rushed to the villa as soon as she received Xiao Xiao's message, waiting for her to wake up. Haha, with me by your side, of course you'll come back to life. Lin Yi smiled. I told you I won't let you die. Lin Yi felt like he was going against his will when he said that, but he had no other choice. He could only comfort Xiao Xiao like this. After all, it was more important for her to be in a good mood. I thought I wouldn't be able to come back to life this time. Xiao Xiao seemed to be quite open about it. I got my life back. Thank you, Lin Yi honey. What are you thanking me for? Isn't it my duty to save you? Lin Yi smiled. All right, let's get some rest. It's getting late. Tang Yun, why don't you sleep here tonight? There's a guest room upstairs. Lin Yi was very weak right now. He had half of his blood left, but he was holding on. He couldn't wait to enter the jade space to heal. Okay. Tang Yun could see Lin Yi's tiredness and nodded. Today was Friday, and there was no school tomorrow. The day after tomorrow was Shurhan's concert, so it wasn't a bad idea for Tang Yun to stay here. But would Meng Yao be willing? Then let's sleep together. My bed upstairs is very spacious. Yin Yun, it's not like we've never slept together before. You're not shy, are you? Meng Yao smiled. Of course not. Tang Yun shook her head. The four of them were very familiar with each other now, so there was no need to be shy. Tang Yun was tired as well. It was best to rest as soon as possible. Lin Yi didn't care about them. He returned to his room, exhausted, and channeled the art of dragon mastery to sleep. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, was fine now. She sat up from the sofa. She seemed to be in a good state, but she wasn't in a good mood. What's wrong? Xiao Xiao, you don't look too happy? Tang Yun noticed that something was wrong with Xiao Xiao. Man, Xiao Xiao sighed. Yin Yin sis, my body. I know. This time, I thought I wouldn't be able to live anymore, but Lin Yi honey pulled me back from the gates of hell. But next time, it won't be so simple. I don't know how long I can live with you guys. Don't talk nonsense. Didn't Lin Yi say that he has a way to cure you? Why are you thinking so much? Tang Yun didn't say anything on the surface, but her heart ached for no reason. She saw how Lin Yi had healed Xiao Xiao today. Xiao Xiao fainted in the living room, so Lin Yi didn't carry her back to the room. He quickly cut his wrist and used his blood to heal her. Tang Yun, the miss, and Shu saw how much blood Lin Yi used. They saw the worry on Lin Yi's face as well. Lin Yi didn't say much, but anyone who wasn't stupid would know how heavy Lin Yi's heart was. Next time, it wouldn't be this easy. Even if he drained all of Lin Yi's blood dry, he might not be able to wake Xiao Xiao up. Yeah, didn't you say that you'd live with us forever and go to university together? Meng Yao had accepted Xiao Xiao as well. At first it was sympathy, but then it was friendship, and after living together, they became best friends who could talk about anything. Her relationship with Xiao Xiao wasn't much worse than Xiao Xiao and Tang Yun's relationship. The Mist didn't want Xiao Xiao to die, but there were some things that she couldn't change. Chapter 1282. Haha, all right, we'll be the troublemaker duo, sweeping through the universe. Huh. Xiao Xiao started laughing, but after that, she felt a bit sad. Actually, you guys don't need to try and convince me. You know what my body is like. Yin Yin sis, I'm actually going to die, right? Look at how you're all centered around me. You even gave me Lin Yi hubby, because I'm going to die, right? Of course not. Didn't we agree on this? It's just a bet. Tang Yin shook her head. All right, I've thought it through. If I die, then so be it. If there's a next life, then we'll be sisters again. If there isn't, then I'll be in heaven waiting for you guys to come and accompany me. It's nothing. Xiao Xiao smiled. Actually, it's been more than 10 years, and I knew that this day would come. I'm already very happy and satisfied. All right, let's go to sleep then. At least we're happy now. Meng Yao nodded. Xiao Xiao was covered in Lin Yi's blood, and some of it had dried up. It was very uncomfortable, so she needed a hot bath first. I'll go shower. You guys? Xiao Xiao asked. Well, wait a bit. You shower first. Meng Yao knew that Xiao Xiao wasn't feeling well, so she didn't hesitate to let Xiao Xiao take the bath. I'll shower with Xiao Xiao, Yushu said, wanting to join in. The bathroom was big, and it was more than enough for the two of them. Xiao Xiao didn't reject. She was quite familiar with Yushu now, and it wasn't a big deal to be naked with her. Xiao Xiao turned on the hot water and entered the bathroom first. Yushu said that she was going to get some body wash, and that she'd be back in a bit. Xiao Xiao didn't mind. But just as Xiao Xiao was taking off her clothes and enjoying herself in the bathtub, Yushu came running in with a camera, excited. Xiao Xiao, come. I'll take a picture of you. Xiao Xiao jumped in fright. She didn't expect Yushu to run in with a camera. Then, wouldn't he have been recorded completely? Xiao Xiao couldn't help but get pissed at how excited Yushu was. She subconsciously jumped up and tried to grab the camera from Yushu's hand. However, when she stood up, she suddenly realized that she was completely exposed in front of the camera. But now, Yushu had bought all of them. Wow, Xiao Xiao, you have a great figure too. Yushu dodged as she slapped away. Hurry up and set it up. I was going to use it for Shield Bro's memories after you're dead. You should cooperate so that you can live forever in Shield Bro's heart. Since Xiao Xiao had seen through life and death, she naturally didn't mind Yushu joking around a bit. But Yushu's actions made her really shy, even though she already agreed with what Yushu said. He had to admit that Yushu was right. What if Lenny missed him after he died? He could look at his own video and reminisce about it. But this video of him not wearing clothes was a little embarrassing. Xiao Xiao didn't mind letting Lenny see it, but she was a little embarrassed. Plus, she was afraid that Yushu would turn around and give the video to Lenny. She'd be too ashamed to face anyone if that happened. If she were to wait until she was dead, then so be it. She wouldn't know anything once she was dead, so there was no need to worry. And so, Xiao Xiao thought a good idea. She was going to drag Yushu down with her. Let's do it. How do you want to do it? Xiao Xiao didn't resist anymore, ready to cooperate with Yushu. Yushu paused. She didn't expect Xiao Xiao to think it through so quickly. But Yushu didn't think too much about it. As far as she was concerned, Xiao Xiao wanted to leave something behind in front of Lin Yi, and so she let her guard down. She let Xiao Xiao do all sorts of seductive poses, and Xiao Xiao played along. And so, Yushu's guard was at its lowest. What she didn't expect was for Xiao Xiao to suddenly grab the camera from Yushu's hand and point it at Yushu herself. Wah! Stupid Shu, you fell for it. It's my turn now. Lin Yi honey saw me, and he saw you. Here, pose. Your boobs are so big. Xiao Xiao stepped to the side after taking the camera, so that Yushu wouldn't take it away again. Yushu didn't expect Xiao Xiao to be so cooperative before, but with Xiao Xiao's personality, it wasn't hard to understand why she would do that. Xiao Xiao could do what she could do too. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Shield Bro's already seen me a couple of times. It's nothing. Yushu decided to be generous and let Xiao Xiao take the video, thinking that she'd have to wait for Lin Yi to see this video. Yushu considered herself as the second wife, but the two didn't have a real relationship yet. She didn't feel like it was a good idea to just show Lin Yi a video. But since she was so happy today, it didn't matter if she took a video. And so, at first, it was just one person, but then it was two people. Finally, it was two people working together to film the Miss and Tang Yin. And so, the Miss and Tang Yin were in for a bad time. The video and the DV couldn't be shown to Lin Yi at all. It had just become a joke between the sisters. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't expect Yushu and Xiao Xiao to make such a big commotion. After returning to his room, Lin Yi entered the training space immediately, absorbing the energy in the jade space like crazy. I'm afraid this will be the last time, Jiao Yazi said coldly as he looked at Lin Yi. What last time? Lin Yi's heart skipped a beat. He understood, but he didn't want to understand. The last time we'll use this method to save her. Jiao Yazi said flatly. I don't believe you don't understand. I understand, but why? Lin, he smiled bitterly. So this was what Jiao Yazi was talking about. Lin, he didn't want to accept this, but there was nothing he could do. Chapter 1283. You're giving me a hard time. Lin, he looked at Jiao Lao helplessly. Can't you let me dream a little? Why did you have to say it out loud? I'm saying it out loud, so you can prepare yourself and adjust your mentality. As a practitioner, your heart is already in a mess. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but if you're not in a good mood, it will definitely affect your training speed. This isn't what I want to see, Jiao Yazi said. All right, since you can see through it, is there any other way? Linny asked. If my real body was here, there shouldn't be a problem, but there's no other way. I'm just a shadow, or rather, a strand of soul. I can only exist in the jade pendant. There's no other way. Jiao Lao shook his head. Jiao Yazi's words made Linny fall in a deep thought. Lin, he didn't want to accept this result, but there was nothing he could do. Forget it. Let's just go with the flow. Lin, he sighed. House Kong had recently bought a large amount of Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine, but the situation they expected didn't happen. From their perspective, no matter how much raw materials they squeezed out, it wouldn't be able to withstand such a huge amount of consumption. However, Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine was starting to be sold on a large scale nationwide, and the supply seemed to be very abundant. Moreover, according to House Kang's investigation, Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company was building a factory with great fanfare. Building a factory? What did this mean? It meant that the raw materials were very abundant, but the size of the factory limited the production capacity. This result made the people of the Kong family extremely shocked. What's going on? Can someone tell us? Where did they get the raw materials? Dr. Kong was furious when he heard the news. Didn't they say that they were losing money? Which family would lose money like this? Building a factory to increase production capacity just to lose money? Dad, don't get angry first. This matter needs to be investigated further. They might not be building a factory to produce injury medicine. Maybe they have a new product they want to sell. Kong Guifeng hesitated and stood out. The idea of buying a large amount of Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine was brought up by Kong Guifeng and Zhao Long. Now that there was a problem, he naturally had to explain himself. Let's not care about their factory first. What I want to ask is, where did they get the raw materials? House Kong has used up almost all of our liquid funds in order to buy Miracle Dr. Guan's medicine. We filled up the warehouse. Even when our Kong family was in its heyday, our warehouse was never so full. What did they use to produce the injury medicine? We've never produced this much, even during the harvest years. Miracle Dr. Kong was about to explode. He suddenly slapped the table and roared. These are only the ones bought by our Kong family, and there are already so many of them. What about the others in the market? What's the market? They're buying more than us. They have everything. Even if we buy more, they still have more. Dr. Kong accidentally went to House Kang's warehouse today and found that it was filled with Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine. That was when he felt that something was wrong. How many raw materials did they need to produce this? So he immediately called for Kong Guifeng, who was in charge of purchasing materials. Kong Guifeng was shocked when he saw the amount of Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine in the warehouse. Wasn't this too much? He only ordered his subordinates to buy as much medicine as they could get, but he didn't check how much he got himself. Plus, it had only been a few days. Kong Guifeng thought that they couldn't get that much even if they bought more. But looking at it today, it seemed like there was a problem. They bought too much, and it didn't seem to affect the market at all. Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine was sold as usual, and there was never a situation where there was a shortage. This, isn't nephew Xiaoming in charge of the other party's supply channel? Kong Guifeng wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. It seemed like his father was really angry. But Kong Guifeng didn't expect the situation in the warehouse to be so full. So, without a choice, Kong Guifeng could only push the blame to his nephew Kong Mingming. Kong Mingming was in charge of finding out the other party's supply channel. He didn't get the information, So what did it have to do with him? He had only made a wrong judgment when he had no information. Kong Ming Ming was looking at the joke coldly. He didn't agree to buying a large amount of Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine, but no one listened. Now that they were in trouble, he was very happy. But he didn't expect his uncle to be so shameless and push the blame to him. Uncle, you can't say that. Back then, I was against your way of doing things. I already said that the other party might have changed the formula and removed a few expensive herbs. That's why the cost was reduced and the output was increased. But you didn't believe me? Now you're pushing the blame to me. Isn't that a bit wrong? Kong Ming Ming jumped out and retorted. This. Kong Guifeng suddenly remembered that Kong Ming Ming did object to it before. He didn't think much of it, but now that Kong Ming Ming reminded him, he remembered that Kong Ming Ming did say those words. No, he predicted it again. Zhao Ming, you seem to be able to predict things like a god recently. You seem to have predicted it a few times. Xiaolong said faintly as he looked at Kong Ming Ming. Xiaolong sounded like he was praising Kong Ming Ming, but anyone could tell that he was suspecting that Kong Ming Ming was colluding with outsiders to frame House Kong. Enough. Dr. Kong looked at Kong Guifeng and Xiaolong. We're trying to push the blame away. He slammed the table and scolded. Shut up. Don't think I don't know what you're thinking. Zhao Ming did say that before, but that was to remind us, out of good intentions. I'm the one who's lost my mind and listened to you two trash. No matter how much of a spoiled brat Zhao Ming is, he wouldn't collude with outsiders to frame House Kong. House Kong is his house, and when he becomes the head of the house, all these things will be his. What is he framing? Chapter 1284. Yes, Zhao Ming's right. The most important thing right now is to solve the problem. You two pieces of trash, look at Zhao Ming. This is what it means to care about House Kong. And you two? Pushing the blame away when something happens. Isn't House Kong still your House Kong? Dr. Kong scolded. Xiaolong and Kong Guifeng were troubled. What was wrong with this Kong Ming Ming? His luck was surprisingly good these days, but he couldn't say these words out loud. Grandpa, uncle, and brother are actually worried, but we're just a little flustered. Kong Ming Ming didn't wait for Dr. Kong to ask and started talking. I think that we, House Kong, need to take some measures to minimize our losses from this mistake. First of all, we have to stop buying the injury medicine from Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. I suggest that we bring the injury medicine to our lab for testing and comparison. We might not be able to analyze the formula, but we can see if there are any of the precious herbs in Miracle Dr. Kang's golden creation. I think this shouldn't be a problem for you, right? Kong Xiaoming spoke leisurely. What he said was what he said last time, but this time, it was more professional and strict. This was something Kong Xiaoming had prepared beforehand. Although Kong Xiaoming didn't foresee that his big brother would be at a disadvantage, he was unwilling to accept it last time. He had been praying for his big brother's plan to fail, so he made some preparations beforehand. He didn't think that it would come in handy now. Yes, Xiaoming is right. Xiaolong, bring some of Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine for analysis and see if there are any precious herbs in it. This is very important. If there aren't any, we'll be screwed. Miracle Dr. Kong knew that something wasn't right. Then we'll have to sell our stock as soon as possible. Yes, Grandpa. Xiaolong had no choice. Kong Ming Ming was in the limelight now, but he still nodded with a dark expression. It wasn't an easy task to analyze the ingredients of Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine. With the current science and technology, it was not easy to analyze the formula. If it was so easy, then there would be no such thing as a secret formula in the world. Those outstanding food ingredients would also be analyzed by others, not to mention those finished pills. Back then, the Kong family had expended so much effort to analyze the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, but they hadn't been able to figure it out. In the end, they had come up with a T conclusion, so one could see how difficult it was to analyze the formula. However, it was much easier to test whether there were a few known components in a certain drug. As long as they analyzed the characteristics of those components, they would be able to determine it. As a result, the test report of Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine was sent back to House Kong as fast as possible. Looking at the series of red crosses on the report, Dr. Kong almost fainted. The red crosses meant that the ingredients weren't present, which meant that there wasn't a single rare ingredient in Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine. No, one of the medicine was so cheap, there weren't any of those rare ingredients. Naturally, the cost would be lower. No, there's none. Dr. Kong threw the report at Kong Guifeng's face. You unfilial son, take a good look at yourself. You're a grown man, and your brain isn't as good as Zhao Ming's. You should have gone to the lab a long time ago, but now you've got a whole warehouse full of trash. You've taken up so much of House Kang's liquidity. What should we do? Father, please don't be angry. I didn't think of this, did I? Plus, Zhao Ming was the one who gave me Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine. You saw it too? It's exactly the same as ours. Who would have thought that they would cut corners? Kong Guifeng frowned. You can't blame me for this, can you? Kong Guifeng didn't finish his sentence, but anyone could understand what he was implying. The only person to blame was Kong Ming, who told him to bring back a fake prescription. Fuck your mother. Dr. Kong heard his eldest son's words and finally exploded. He jumped up and slapped Kong Guifeng's face. You're blaming others for your own mistakes? Zhao Ming did bring back the prescription, but Zhao Ming said that Guan Shuamin might have cut corners and changed the prescription. Why didn't you hear that? Do you have a choice? Kong Guifeng was slapped and immediately became quiet. He covered his swollen face, depressed. I'm sorry, Father. Grandpa, since it's already happened, let's think of a way to solve it. Although Father and I are both at fault, we're doing this for House Kong. We want to deal a blow to Miracle Dr. Guan. Xiaolong quickly tried to smooth things over. Then tell me, what should we do? Dr. Kong nodded and asked. First, we should get rid of the stock in the warehouse as soon as possible. These things have an expiration date, and if they expire, we'll lose a lot of money. Xiaolong said, if it comes down to it, we'll have to lose some money and get rid of them. Since they cut corners on the medicine, the effects won't be as good as before. If there's a negative reaction in the market and we don't get rid of them in time, we'll lose money. That's the only way. Miracle Dr. Kong sighed. House Kang's recent financial situation can't take much more. House Kang's main business has been attacked by Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company, and it's not what it used to be. House Xiao broke off the engagement with us. It's one wrong step, and every step is wrong. Not to mention becoming a noble house. It'll be hard for us to maintain our previous glory. Grandpa, we shouldn't give up. We should take the initiative. Since we know that Miracle Dr. Guan cut corners on the raw materials, we can make a statement and attack them for their shoddy business practices. We'll tarnish their reputation. Xiaolong suggested, unwilling to admit defeat. He wanted to change his image in front of his grandpa. One had to know that he was the third-generation head of House Kong. But now, it had become Kong Xiaoming out of nowhere. He couldn't accept it. Chapter 1285. What's wrong with that? Xiaolong froze. What makes you think that their injury medicine is the same as our golden creation? Are you going to tell the media that you asked Zhao Ming to bribe the vice president of Miracle Dr. Guan's company to get the formula? If that's the case, then the reputation of our Dr. Kang's medical group will be ruined. Dr. Kong humphed coldly. Also, if you list out those precious herbs, our Dr. Kang's golden creation formula will be in danger of being leaked. You have to know that the uniqueness of our formula lies in those precious herbs. If someone else learns about it and tries to figure out, there might be a Miracle Dr. Li or Miracle Dr. Wang appearing tomorrow. Isn't that just asking for trouble? Grandpa, I'm sorry, I didn't think it through. Xiaolong lowered his head, admitting his wrongdoing. He was too eager to turn things around, and he didn't think before he spoke. Zhao Ming, what do you think? I didn't think that the person I looked down on the most in the whole House Kong is the smartest one now. Miracle Dr. Kong was very satisfied with Kong Xiaoming, especially since he performed so many miraculous feats. Miracle Dr. Kong valued him even more. Grandpa, I think we should do something else while we're dealing with the injury medicine. We can't just sit here and wait for death. Kong Ming said, the meeting of the noble houses is about to start. We have to do something, or we won't have a chance this time. That's right. We can't just sit here and wait for death. We have to take the initiative. This is what the descendants of House Kong should do. Dr. Kong nodded. Tell me your opinion. First, we're too weak. We should get a noble house to help us. The best one to help us is actually the Xiao family. After all, our two houses have an engagement. Compared to other noble houses, it's easier to get in touch with them. Kong Ming Ming analyzed proudly. Actually, everyone understood his analysis. It was just that they felt that there was no hope. However, Kong Ming Ming didn't care so much. He only wanted to improve his image and the right to speak. So, no matter how feasible this matter was, he would bring it up first. Well, that makes sense. Dr. Kong nodded. Xiaolong couldn't take it any longer. Makes sense? What bullsh asterisk T logic? He knew that his grandpa liked Kong Ming Ming now. So whatever he said, his grandpa would agree. Xiaolong calmed down and stood up to refute. Grandpa, Xiao Ming, although the Xiao family used to have a good relationship with us, but now, the last time we went to visit the Xiao family didn't even acknowledge us. Do you think the Xiao family would still like us? What Xiaolong said is indeed a problem. Xiaoming, what do you think? Dr. Kong didn't have much ability or brains. He was just an illiterate who didn't even graduate from primary school. It was only by chance that he obtained the formula of golden creation that he was able to establish House Kong. In fact, he didn't have any ability at all. He didn't even have basic medical knowledge, let alone managing a family. But because of the powerful golden creation formula, other families came to suck up to them. So it wasn't a big deal for House Kong to be a little mediocre. But things were different now. Miracle Dr. Kang's pretense of being mysterious and unfathomable didn't work anymore. He'd trained himself to think and do things like a leader, but his foundation was too weak. He'd be the first one to panic when something happened to House Kong. This is related to the second thing I wanted to say. You guys have to let me finish. Kong Ming Ming rolled his eyes. He actually connected the first and second things together. He was very proud of himself. He was a genius to be able to connect these two things together. Oh, then hurry up and tell me, what is the second thing? Dr. Kong didn't suspect anything. The second thing is that I need to find the formula for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing as soon as possible. As long as our Kong family has the formula for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, we will be able to create the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. To our Kong family, it will be a huge boon. The Xiao family knows that we can create the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. They will probably take the initiative to mend their relationship with us. If we have the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, the other families will definitely come to us for help. Wouldn't it be a piece of cake for us to become an aristocratic family? Kong Ming Ming said in one breath. After he finished speaking, he was a little impressed with himself. He was too amazing, too awesome, to be able to speak so fluently. He was a genius. Good idea. Good idea. Our Kong family has Xiaoming. The heavens are truly blessing us. Dr. Kong slapped the table and laughed heartily. Grandpa, but Xuemin has the formula as well. This way, we won't be the only ones with the formula, and we won't have an obvious advantage. Xiaolong, on the other hand, was singing a different tune. He knew that Xiaoming was bullshitting, and everyone knew that, but Xiaoming just had to link it all together. He couldn't help but be impressed that his brother had such an unreasonable brain. That's not it, Kong Ming Ming said. It said that the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing is made from some rare herbs, and the production of these herbs is limited every year. It's very rare, so it's a matter of competition. Whoever can get their hands on these rare herbs first will have the advantage. I think that with our relationship with the pharmacists, even if we can't get all of these rare herbs, we'll be able to get a portion of them. Even if we only get a portion, we'll have a say in the matter. After all, the production of these herbs is low, and there's only a small amount every year. The rarer something is, the greater its value. We'll still have an advantage then. That's right. Xiaolong, look at your brother. When it comes to academics, he's not as good as you, but he's very good at scheming. You have to be impressed. But a scholar can't be the head of a house, after all. The head of the house needs to have brains, I think Zhao Ming's idea is very doable. Let's do it, Dr. Kong said happily. Yes, Grandpa, Kong Ming Ming agreed happily. Chapter 1286. But even if it was a chain reaction, finding the recipe for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing was something Xiaolong didn't think was possible. But Kong Ming Ming just had to pull it out like it was easy. Xiaolong wasn't willing to accept this. He was the head of the house. The words his grandfather said to him before the Yinjing auction were still ringing in his ears. But now the head of the house was his own brother, Kong Ming Ming. He wasn't willing. He really wasn't. Since Zhao Ming's so confident, and he was the one who came up with this idea, then I'll leave the search for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing to Zhao Ming. Xiaolong smiled, looking at Zhao Ming as if he had faith in him. Zhao Ming, the hope of House Kang's rise rests on you. That, of course, no problem. Kong Ming Ming had no choice but to agree. Even if Xiaolong didn't say anything, he'd be the one doing all this anymore. There was no way he'd change the person, so he might as well agree first. He'd achieve his goal of beating down Xiaolong. Good. I'm happy that Zhao Ming is so responsible. Dr. Kong nodded, happy. Since that's the case, then it's settled. Gu Weifeng, you go get in touch with the Xiao family. And Zhao Ming, you go find a recipe for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing. Xiaolong, hurry up and think of a way to sell the miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine in the warehouse. House Kang's funds are being used up too much. Even if we get the recipe, we'll need a lot of money to develop it. Yes, everyone agreed at the same time. Sui Pu, on the other hand, had nothing else to do. He'd already been like this for the rest of his life. There was no need to show anything else. His son, Kong Ming Ming, had been chosen by Dr. Kong to be the next head of House Kong. Sui Pu could continue being a spoiled brat because of his son's status. The leisurely days flew by quickly, and these days the villa was filled with the sounds of Xiao Xiao, the Miss, and Shu's laughter. In the blink of an eye, it was the day of Su Shihan's concert. Miss Shu, Yun Yun, and Xiao Xiao had been waiting for this day for a long time. Su Shihan could be said to be the idol of many young people. Boys like her, girls liked her too. It wasn't just because Su Shihan was beautiful, her voice was sweet, and her voice was pleasant to the ears. It was also because of her purity. Ever since her debut, there had been no scandals, and there had never been any negative photos or videos. In this era, Su Shihan was indeed an anomaly. But Su Shihan, who didn't take off her clothes, was more popular than those who took off their clothes. This meant that most people still liked pure celebrities. What do you think? If you really can't do it, just announce the cancellation of the concert? Wang Sis looked at Su Shihan with concern. It's okay, Sister Wang. I just need to rest for a while. The fans are already here, and some of them came from other places. If the concert is canceled, they'll be really sad. Su Shihan shook her head and smiled bitterly. It's okay, I'll grit my teeth and get through it. And then don't force yourself. If you really can't handle it, just stop it. I'll find an excuse to change clothes or a stage malfunction to stall for some time. Wang Sis said, Do you understand, Han? I understand. Don't worry, Wang Sis, I'm not a kid anymore. Su Shihan smiled. Wang Sis, Su Jianong is here. At this time, the bodyguard Feng San Wang pushed the door open and reported. He wants to see Miss Su. Oh, what's he here for? Wang Sis paused. All right, I'll go see him. In fact, Wang Sis still had a sliver of hope. She hoped that Qibing would change his mind and not make those unreasonable requests. He would just accept some money and help Su Shihan cure her illness. Otherwise, with Qibing's conditions, Su Shihan wouldn't agree to it. Qibing would lose both his money and himself. In fact, Qibing didn't think that he would lose both his money and himself. He sent Su Jianong here to threaten Su Shihan. He was getting impatient. He had waited for so long, and Su Shihan still hadn't come for treatment. This made Qibing's heart itch. Such a beauty, he couldn't hold her in his arms. Qibing didn't want to give up, so he sent Su Jianong here to ask Su Shihan if she wanted to cure her illness or not. If she didn't want to, there wouldn't be a chance in the future. Mr. Su, why are you here at this time? Wang Sis came to the guest room and saw Su Jianong. Although she was still holding a grudge against Qibing's words, she didn't seem to have any inappropriate behavior. Manager Wang, I don't need to tell you why I'm here. You should know. Su Jianong smiled and didn't beat around the bush. He went straight to the point. Master Bing asked me to ask Miss Su something. Are you going to cure her illness or not? You have to know that Master Bing's patience is limited. Mr. Su, of course we want to cure her, but Master Bing's conditions, we can't do that. If you need money, just tell us. Even if we have to sell everything we have, we will still come up with the money. But if young Master Zhao still asks for those unrealistic conditions, then we can only regret it. Wang Sis said, Manager Wang, do you mean Miss Su's will? In other words, there's no room for discussion? Su Jianong's face darkened. No room for discussion. Wang Sis said firmly, my will is Miss Su's will. If that's the case, then I'll go back and report. But Master Bing also said that if Miss Su doesn't agree, then there's no room for discussion in the future. You guys have no room for discussion, and we have no room for discussion. Su Jianong said faintly. Manager Wang, good luck. I won't see you out. Wang Sis was infuriated as well. This Zhao Qibing was really a pervert. He didn't want to earn money and instead wanted to get intimate with her. But Xiaoan wasn't an ordinary celebrity. She wouldn't agree to his unreasonable request. There was basically no room for negotiation. So Wang Sis didn't mind offending Su Jianong. After sending Su Jianong away, Wang Sis couldn't help but sigh. It seemed that her request for medical treatment was a complete failure. If Xiaohan was an ordinary person, or if her looks weren't so outstanding, then perhaps she could just spend some money. But Chapter 1287. As Su Shihan's bodyguard, Feng Sanhuang always had this kind of expression on his face, but it was also because of this that Su Shihan and Wang Sis didn't put up their guard against him at all. He wasn't like other men who would show an expression of infatuation towards Su Shihan. Of course, they didn't know that Feng Sanhuang was actually a spy. They were all deceived by Feng Sanhuang's calm appearance. Sister Wang, you're back. Shihan saw that Wang Sis had returned and nodded to her. In fact, Shihan had never thought that Qibing would change his mind. Shihan had seen too many of these kinds of people. They were lustful and wouldn't stop until they got what they wanted. However, there were many young masters who inexplicably disappeared after coming to find them. They were either under the control of their families or mysteriously vanished from the face of the earth. Although Shihan didn't believe that it was a coincidence, there were no clues at all. Su Shihan even wondered if it was God's blessing for her tragic life. Su Jianong came and said the same thing as before. He asked if he would agree to Zhao Qibing's request, and I rejected him right away. Wang Sis said to Su Shihan, Xiaohan, this time, Wang Sis made a mistake. I asked you to treat him, but it caused some trouble. Sister Wang, don't say that. You did it for my own good. How can I blame you for this? Su Shihan quickly waved her hand and said, Wang Sis, it's fine. I've been sick for so many years. I've endured it. It's fine. Yeah, our Xiaohan is strong enough. Sister Wang laughed. On one side, Shihan was getting ready to go on stage. On the other side, tens of thousands of spectators had already flooded into Songshan's cultural stadium. With Pengzhan's position in Songshan, getting a few front-row VIP tickets was a piece of cake. The 5 of them sat in the front row of the stadium. Other than Lin Yi, the 4 girls were very excited, especially Tang Yin. She never thought that she would have the luxury of attending a concert, and it was a front-row VIP ticket. Although she didn't use her own money to buy the tickets, Tang Yin was still very happy. However, she didn't show it. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, was screaming excitedly with Yushu, Su Shihan, Shihan, Su Shihan. Meng Yao and Tang Yin looked at each other helplessly. They were fans, but they weren't crazy. They were quiet people, unlike Xiao Xiao and Yushu, who would cheer with the crowd. Only Lin Yi was dozing off on the VIP seats as if nothing had happened. Sleeping at Su Shihan's concert, Lin Yi was probably the only one. Although the concert hadn't started yet, which fan wasn't waiting excitedly? How could he fall asleep? Lin Yi was actually training. Ever since he heard what Jiao Yazi said, Lenny knew that Xiao Xiao didn't have long to live, and so he started training day and night, closing his eyes and entering the jade space whenever he had the chance. Because Lin Yi knew that some things could only be resolved after possessing absolute strength. Therefore, what Lin Yi wanted to do the most right now was to level up. Shield bro, why did you fall asleep? Yushu looked at Lin Yi strangely. Shu, don't disturb him, he's training. Meng Yao knew Lin Yi. There was one time when Lin Yi was watching TV with his eyes closed. Meng Yao had asked Lin Yi about it. So, without a doubt, Lin Yi was still training. Meng Yao could more or less guess what Lin Yi was thinking, too. He wanted to get as strong as he could so he could heal Xiao Xiao. Oh, Yushu nodded and didn't disturb Lin Yi anymore. They were watching a concert now, so it didn't matter to her whether or not Lin Yi watched it. Lin Yi indeed wasn't that interested in Su Shirhan. He had enough beauties in his house, and Lin Yi couldn't possibly be interested in a so-called celebrity. Wasn't it just a little girl who could sing and dance? The Miss Shu, Yun Yun, and Xiao Xiao all knew these things. Lin Yi didn't need to look at others. After a while of waiting, the stadium's lights dimmed, and the music stopped abruptly. Su Shirhan was going on stage. At this moment, the audience in the arena cheered excitedly at this moment. Su Shirhan, Su Shirhan, Su Shirhan. Everyone was screaming, waving their light sticks, spoons, and laser sticks in the air. Yushu and Xiao Xiao stood up like the other fans, moving their bodies to the rhythm of the song. Lin Yi frowned and covered his ears with his hands. The noise was too annoying. The stage suddenly lit up, and all sorts of colored lights shot towards the stage. A huge beam of light shot towards the stage as well, and the mechanism on the stage activated, and a stage slowly rose up from below. This was pretty much the procedure for all the celebrities. The stage of the stadium was circular, and the celebrities could only come out from below the stage. They couldn't go through the audience. Wah! The fans cheered again when they saw Su Shirhan in her pink youth outfit. Hello, my fans. I am Su Shirhan. Su Shirhan politely and humbly greeted everyone. Thank you all for coming to Songshan Culture Stadium to attend my live concert. For this, I express my deepest gratitude. Lin Yi opened his eyes and looked at the girl on the stage. Her body and face were flawless. But who knew if those words were true or not? Was she thanking the fans for coming here and giving her money? In short, Lin Yi wasn't very interested in her. After a few glances, he closed his eyes again. As for Lin Yi's actions, the Miss Shu, Yun Yun, and Xiao Xiao all felt helpless and thankful at the same time. Lin Yi was such a waste of a ticket. But he wasn't a pervert. How could he close his eyes and continue training after seeing such a beautiful girl? It seemed like Su Shirhan's position in Lin Yi's heart was far lower than Xiao Xiao's. In fact, it was true. Lin Yi didn't care about Su Shirhan's life or death. If Su Shirhan and Xiao Xiao were to be naked in front of Lin Yi would look at Xiao Xiao first. But Lin Yi had to admit that Su Shirhan's voice was very sweet, and her voice was like the sound of nature. And with Lin Yi's sharp eyes, he could tell that Su Shirhan was singing for real, not lip-syncing. Chapter 1288. The only thing Lin Yi wanted to thank Su Shirhan for was that she brought laughter to Xiao Xiao. Looking at the excited Xiao Xiao, Lin Yi felt that it was a good decision for Su Shirhan to hold a concert in Songshan at this time. If there was a chance in the future, he would thank Su Shirhan in person. Soon, the concert reached its climax. Under Su Shirhan's lead, the entire audience went wild. Everyone stood up and sang and danced along with Su Shirhan's voice. Even Immerse and Tang Yun were affected by the atmosphere. They stood up and danced along with the music. One had to say, if Lin Yi didn't have super strong willpower, he would have been affected by everyone. Of course, Lin Yi's willpower wasn't something a normal person could achieve. So, Lin Yi sat in his seat and didn't move. Lin Yi only opened his eyes to look at Su Shirhan before closing his eyes again and moving his body. At the front of the VIP seats, a middle-aged man sat. These VIP seats were usually not sold to the public. They were used internally. These good seats were given to people with connections and people close to Su Shirhan. But there weren't many middle-aged people who came to watch Su Shirhan's performance. Other than the parents who brought their children, this middle-aged man was the only one. The middle-aged man's clothes were simple and low profile, but people who knew what he was wearing would be shocked. His clothes were ordinary, but the material was top-notch. Beside him, there was a man in his 30s. The man's eyes were bright, and he was dressed in black like a bodyguard. Evidently, he was the middle-aged man's bodyguard. Feng Er, don't you think that I'm a useless man? I can't even protect my own woman and daughter? A tear flashed in the middle-aged man's eyes. It had been so many years, and he had been holding it in. Only in front of a few close subordinates would he show a hint of sadness and exhaustion. To become a powerful person, one had to learn how to be ruthless. Too much emotional restraint would give the competitors a lot of opportunities to attack. Even if there was love in his heart, he had to show it. Master, Feng Er doesn't know. Feng Er only knows that Master is a powerful person, a person who does great things. Those who do great things don't bother with trifles. The bodyguard called Feng Er replied respectfully. What else can you say besides these words? You're not as smart as your third brother. The middle-aged man shook his head helplessly. But you're loyal. You've been with me for so many years, but can you talk to me once in a while? Don't treat me as your master. Master will always be master. I don't know what else I can be, Feng Er said blankly. Forget it. The middle-aged man waved his hand. Let's watch the concert. All right, Mrs. So beautiful. Feng Er nodded and said. The middle-aged man shook his head. His phone vibrated. He took out his phone from his pocket and looked at the caller ID. It was old man Lin. He was slightly taken aback. After all, the old man rarely took the initiative to call him. Most of the time, it was him who called him. And for the old man to call him, it must be something important. With that thought, he quickly picked up the phone. Hello, old man. What's up? He said. What did you say? It's so noisy over there. Can't you hear me? Old man Lin yelled into the phone. Where are you? What did you say? He couldn't hear what old man Lin was saying. The concert was too loud, and the two of them couldn't hear each other clearly. Wait for me. I'll find a quiet place to call you. He yelled into the phone, but his voice was quickly drowned out by the music. He wanted to say something to Xiao Xiao, but she was waving her glow stick excitedly. He didn't want to disturb her. He turned to Tang Yun, who had also stood up and was singing along with the miss, but she wasn't as engrossed as Xiao Xiao. He pulled Tang Yun's hand, and she quickly lowered her head. What's wrong? I have something to do, so I'm going to make a call. I'll let you know. He waved the phone in his hand. All right. Tang Yun nodded. He stood up and left the VIP area, quickly leaving the stadium and heading to the washroom in the corridor. But when he got to the washroom on the first floor, he heard voices coming from inside. It was a man's voice, and it sounded very familiar. Master Bing, I didn't see Su Shirhan, but her manager rejected my suggestion. Yes, she said she wanted to spend money to treat her, but I told her that it's not negotiable. Don't worry, Master Bing, I'm at the concert. If she acts up, I'll go persuade her. If she doesn't go to Yao, no one else can treat her. She'll definitely fall into Master Bing's arms. It was Su Jianong's voice. He stood at the entrance of the washroom and listened for a while. He recognized the voice of an old acquaintance, and it seemed like he was talking to Zhao Qibing. As for the content of their conversation, He could roughly understand it. The superstar Su Shirhan probably had some illness and went to Yao to treat her, and Zhao Qibing probably asked Su Shirhan for some unspoken rules, which she rejected. Su Shirhan wanted to spend money to treat her, but Zhao Qibing didn't agree, so the two were in a stalemate. Of course, this had nothing to do with Yi. It didn't matter if Zhao Qibing was picking flowers or messing with grass. As long as he didn't provoke he wouldn't care about him. Since he wanted to play with the superstar, then he couldn't interfere. This kind of thing, one was willing to fight, and the other was willing to suffer. That Su Shirhan wanted to treat her, so it was natural for her to be played by Zhao Qibing. After listening for a while, Lin he didn't want to listen anymore, but this washroom, Lin he didn't plan to go in. Although Lin he could forcefully kick Su Jianong out, this washroom was obviously the closest one to the stadium. Now that Su Jianong was inside, it was hard to say if other people would come in. Lin he felt that the conversation between him and old Lin should be confidential. So Lin he didn't want others to hear it, and he couldn't let others hear it. Lin he decided to find another washroom that was further away. Chapter 1289. Ouch! Shirhan covered her temples with both hands, her whole body lying on the basin, breathing heavily. She thought that she would be able to get through the concert, but she didn't expect that her headache would act up again in the middle of the concert. The more Su Shirhan tried to calm the headache, the more it hurt, and the more anxious she was, the more painful it became. Su Shirhan? Lin he finally recognized the girl who was washing her face with cold water and screaming in pain. It was the famous celebrity, Su Shirhan. But shouldn't Su Shirhan be on the stage? Why was she here? Moreover, it seemed like something had gone wrong. That's right. Lin he suddenly remembered that he heard Su Jianong and Zhao Qibing talking on the phone. They mentioned something about Su Shirhan's illness. Could it be this kind of headache? With that thought, Lin he felt that it was very possible. Su Shirhan heard someone call her name and was shocked. She raised her head and looked at Lin he in fear. She rushed into the bathroom to wash her face with cold water, and she didn't think that there would be someone in the bathroom. This was the bathroom in the basement. Other than the staff, there shouldn't be anyone else. The staff should be busy cleaning up the mess. Why would there be someone in the bathroom? And, looking at Lin Yi's face, Su Shirhan obviously hadn't seen him before. Although it was impossible for Su Shirhan to know all the staff in the company, most of them looked familiar, and the staff all wore the same badge. No matter how this person dressed, he didn't look like a staff. Who are you? Su Shirhan looked at Lin he cautiously and asked, You have a headache? Lin he frowned. He didn't want to poke his nose into other people's business. But Lin he wasn't thinking about Su Shirhan's headache, but the consequences of her headache. Since Su Shirhan appeared here, the concert must be interrupted, and if Su Shirhan didn't recover, the concert would be forced to end early. This wasn't the result Lin he wanted to see. Lin he didn't like Su Shirhan, and he didn't really look forward to her singing, but Xiao Xiao was looking forward to it. Xiao Xiao had been looking forward to this concert for a long time. How could Lin he let her down? Xiao Xiao was different from normal people, and every day she lived was a day less. Other people might regret not being able to see the concert today, but Xiao Xiao would regret it forever. She might not be able to see Su Shirhan's concert in this lifetime. In order to let Xiao Xiao have a perfect day, Lin he wouldn't allow the concert to end early. So, he had no choice but to help Su Shirhan. What are you doing? Su Shirhan was very cautious toward the stranger in the washroom. She took 2 steps back subconsciously, but the splitting headache made her steps weak. She only took 2 steps back before she fainted on the floor. The only thought in her mind before she fainted was to call for help, but running from the stage to the washroom had used up all the energy in her body. She didn't have any extra energy left. Lin he didn't think that Su Shirhan would faint before he could say anything. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. But Lin he still had to save her. He walked to Shirhan's side and didn't care too much. He directly grabbed her wrist and started checking her pulse. Ichem? Lin he felt Su Shirhan's pulse and frowned. He flipped her eyelids and looked at her tongue, but he didn't find any abnormalities. This surprised Lin he a little. This Su Shirhan, where did her headache come from? Of course, Lin he could feel Su Shirhan's pain, but he couldn't find the cause yet. It was really strange. But Lin he took out the silver needles from his pocket and sterilized them with pure qi. He started to perform acupuncture on Su Shirhan. He inserted needles into Su Shirhan's chest, head, wrist, and other parts of her body. Then he started massaging her head and chest with his energy-infused hands. Su Shirhan moaned. Finally, she woke up under Lin Yi's acupuncture and massage. But when she woke up, she saw a man pushing her to the ground. One of the man's hands was placed on her chest. Pervert! Su Shirhan woke up immediately. She struggled to push Lin Yi away and get up from the ground. Don't move. Wait for me to remove the needles. Lin Yi frowned and used his hand to seal Su Shirhan's acupuncture points. He didn't let her move or scream. Then he started to remove the needles from Su Shirhan's body one by one. Su Shirhan's eyes widened in shock. She didn't know what Lin Yi did to her, but it seemed like he just touched her a few times and she couldn't move or scream anymore. It was as if she had been injected with an anesthetic, and only her eyes and thoughts were still under her control. The rest of her body didn't seem to belong to her anymore. What was this man trying to do? The next moment, Su Shirhan saw Lin Yi pull out a bunch of needles from her body and put them in a small box. After doing all this, Lin Yi casually poked her body a few more times, returning her to normal. A dash. Shirhan subconsciously screamed as soon as she regained her composure. Lin Yi had no choice but to cover her mouth with a frown. Stupid girl, don't call me that. If it wasn't because my girlfriend wanted to watch the concert, I wouldn't even bother to save you. Don't think that you're some celebrity. You're not even close to my girlfriend. I have no interest in you. Stop dreaming. Whoa, Su Shirhan was furious. She wanted to argue, but her mouth was covered by Lin Yi. She couldn't make a sound. Did you hear me? Nod your head if you heard me. Lin Yi said coldly. Su Shirhan quickly nodded. She wasn't stupid. At this time, she had regained her consciousness. The splitting headache disappeared as well. It seemed like her headache was really cured by the person in front of her. Chapter 1290. It hurts. Su Shirhan covered her temples with both hands as she laid on the basin, gasping for air. She thought that she could make it through the concert, but she didn't expect that her headache would act up again in the middle of the concert. The more Su Shirhan tried to calm her headache down, the more anxious she got, the more painful it became. Su Shirhan? Lin Yi finally recognized her. The girl who was washing her face with cold water and screaming in pain was the superstar Su Shirhan. But shouldn't Su Shirhan be on stage now? Why was she here? Moreover, it seemed like something had gone wrong, right? Lin Yi suddenly remembered that he heard Su Jiaonong and Zhao Qibing talking on the phone. They mentioned something about Su Shirhan's illness. Could it be this kind of headache? With that thought, Lin Yi felt that it was very possible. Su Shirhan heard someone call her name and was shocked. She raised her head and looked at Lin Yi in fear. She rushed into the bathroom to wash her face with cold water. She didn't think that there would be someone in the bathroom. This was the bathroom in the basement. Other than the staff, there shouldn't be anyone else. The staff should be busy dealing with the aftermath. Why would there be someone in the bathroom? And, looking at Lin Yi's face, Su Shirhan obviously hadn't seen him before. Although it was impossible for Su Shirhan to recognize every single worker in the company, most of them looked familiar. Plus, all the workers in the company wore the same badge. No matter how this person dressed, he didn't look like a worker. Who are you? Su Shirhan looked at Lin Yi cautiously. You have a headache? Lin Yi frowned. He didn't want to be nosy. Lin Yi wasn't a nosy person. However, Lin Yi wasn't thinking about Su Shirhan's headache, but the consequences of her headache. Since Su Shirhan was here, the concert must be interrupted. If Su Shirhan didn't recover, the concert would be forced to end early. This wasn't what Lin Yi wanted to see. Lin Yi didn't like Su Shirhan. Whether she would continue singing or not, Lin Yi didn't look forward to it. But Xiao Xiao was looking forward to it. Xiao Xiao had been looking forward to this concert for a long time. How could Lin Yi let her down? Xiao Xiao was different from others. Every day she lived was a day less. Others might regret it if they couldn't see the concert today, but Xiao Xiao would regret it forever. Perhaps she wouldn't be able to see Su Shirhan's concert for the rest of her life. In order to let Xiao Xiao have a perfect day, Lin Yi wouldn't allow the concert to end early, so he had to help Su Shirhan. What do you want? Su Shirhan was still very vigilant toward a stranger appearing in the bathroom. She subconsciously took 2 steps back, but the splitting headache made her steps weak. She only took 2 steps back before she fainted on the ground. Su Shirhan's only thought before she fainted was to call for help. But running from the stage to the washroom had used up all the energy in her body. She didn't have any extra energy left. Lin, he didn't expect Su Shirhan to faint before he could say anything. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. But Lin, he still had to save her. He walked to Shirhan's side and didn't care too much. He directly grabbed her wrist and started checking her pulse. Lin, he felt Su Shirhan's pulse and frowned. He flipped Su Shirhan's eyelids and looked at her tongue, but he didn't find anything strange. This surprised Lin. This Su Shirhan, where did her headache come from? Of course, Lin could feel Su Shirhan's pain, but he couldn't find a cause yet. This was strange. But Lin took out the silver needles from his pocket and sterilized them with pure qi. He started acupuncture on Su Shirhan. He inserted needles into Su Shirhan's chest, head, wrist, and other parts of her body. Then he started massaging her head and chest with his energy-infused hands. Su Shirhan moaned and finally woke up under Lin Yi's acupuncture and massage. But when she woke up, she saw a man pushing her to the ground. The man's hand was on her chest. Pervert. Su Shirhan woke up immediately. She struggled to push Lin Yi away and got up from the ground. Don't move. Wait for me to remove the needles. Lin Yi frowned and used his hand to seal Su Shirhan's acupuncture points. He didn't allow her to move or scream. Then, he started to remove the needles from Su Shirhan's body. Su Shirhan's eyes widened. She was shocked. She didn't know what Lin Yi did to her, but it seemed like he just touched her a few times, and she couldn't move or scream anymore. It was as if she had been injected with an anesthetic, and only her eyes and thoughts were still under her control. The rest of her body didn't seem to belong to her anymore. This person, what was he trying to do? The next moment, Su Shirhan saw Lin Yi remove the needles from her body and put them in a small box. After that, Lin Yi poked her body a few more times to make her go back to normal. Su Shirhan subconsciously screamed when she returned to normal. Lin Yi had no choice but to cover her mouth and frowned. Stupid girl, don't scream. If it wasn't for my girlfriend wanting to watch the concert, I wouldn't even bother to save you. Don't think that you're some superstar. You can't even compare to my girlfriend. I have no interest in you. Stop dreaming. Whoa, Su Shirhan was furious. She wanted to argue after hearing Lin Yi's words, but her mouth was covered by Lin Yi. She couldn't make a sound. Did you hear me? Not if you hear me clearly. Lin Yi said coldly. Su Shirhan quickly nodded. She wasn't stupid. She had regained her consciousness, and the splitting headache was gone. It seemed like her headache was really cured by the person in front of her. Chapter 1291. Su Shirhan wasn't stupid. In fact, she was a smart girl. She had been in the entertainment industry for so many years, and she needed to maintain a clear head and a calm heart. So after a short moment of anger, she calmed down. This man in front of her was obviously not a normal person. She had fainted from the pain before, and this had happened before, but every time she fainted, the next time she woke up would be the next day. It wasn't that easy to wake up, but this man in front of her just used a few needles and a massage to wake her up, and her head didn't hurt at all. This was even more effective than Zhao Yaowang's miracle medicine. And what shocked her the most was that this man in front of her knew how to use acupuncture. She wasn't sure if it was called acupuncture, but it was called that in wuxia dramas. Lin Yi just used a few acupuncture points on her body, and she couldn't move or speak. She could only assume that Lin Yi knew how to use acupuncture. She was shocked that he knew how to use acupuncture and massage, but she only thought of him as a medical master. But if he knew how to use acupuncture, then he wasn't just a medical master anymore. Could it be that Lin Yi was a Wuling as well? But there were very few people in the Wuling who knew how to use acupuncture, right? Su Shirhan wasn't a practitioner, but her bodyguard, Feng San Huang, was. She didn't know what level he was at, but from what he said, she had a certain understanding of Wuling practitioners. There were people who knew how to fight, but to be able to use acupuncture, this was unheard of. Looking at the eyes of the man in front of her, there wasn't a trace of evil in them. She knew that what he said was probably true. The eyes were the window to the soul, and especially for an actress like Su Shirhan, she knew what eyes meant. The man in front of her really had no interest in her, and he wasn't just saying it. He was different from Zhao Qibing, who looked at her with lust and affection, but Lin didn't. He didn't even look at her with admiration and excitement, as if he was looking at a normal person. Maybe this man was telling the truth. His girlfriend was prettier than her, and he saved her so that his girlfriend could continue to watch the concert. And so, Su Shirhan nodded. But even so, she was filled with hatred towards Lin Yi. She was supposed to be grateful to Lin Yi, but she couldn't feel anything at all. Women are strange creatures. This sentence is not wrong at all. Lin Yi wasn't like Zhao Qibing, and that made her feel relieved, but Lin Yi wasn't interested in her at all, and even said that she wasn't as pretty as his girlfriend, which made her very unhappy. No matter what, she was a superstar who was the center of attention and was pampered by thousands of people. Did he not take her seriously at all? Was he blind? Plus, his reason for saving her was laughable, and it made her feel even less grateful. But in her heart, she didn't know why, but she was a little envious of Lin Yi's girlfriend. She was lucky to have a boyfriend like this. Lin Yi saw her nod and let go of the hand covering her mouth, saying faintly, "Are you done? If you're done, go back to the concert. No need to thank me. If you want to thank me, take a picture with my girlfriend after the concert. That's your reward." Hearing Lin Yi's words, Su Shirhan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She didn't even say that she wanted to repay him. Okay? With this attitude, he wanted her to repay him? Oof. Su Shirhan was very angry. But being angry was one thing, and Su Shirhan wasn't an ungrateful person. No matter what, Lin Yi helped her solve a big problem. Lin Yi's original intention wasn't important. What was important was that Su Shirhan benefited from it. And so, without even thinking about it, she nodded and agreed. On one hand, it wasn't just to repay Lin Yi's kindness, but also to ask Lin Yi if he could cure her illness when they had enough time. From her point of view, Lin Yi had a way. Lin Yi's medical skills were probably higher than Zhao Yaowang's, and most importantly, Lin Yi didn't have that kind of thoughts towards her, so Su Shirhan didn't worry about dealing with him and let him treat her illness. "Sure, this is my phone number. Call me after the concert, and I'll send someone to pick you up." Su Shirhan nodded quickly and said a string of numbers, then ran out of the washroom. Time was tight, and she had to touch up her makeup and go on stage again. So Su Shirhan didn't have time to chat with Lin Yi. There was a problem with the stage, and the fans were very anxious. But there was someone who was very pleased, and that person was Su Jiaonong. The first thing he did was to call Zhao Qibing again. "Master Bing, good news," Su Jiaonong said excitedly. "What good news?" Su Shirhan agreed. Zhao Qibing paused and asked. Su Shirhan's illness acted up on stage, and she said that there was a problem with the stage, but I think it's most likely her headache. Su Jiaonong said, "I'm going to take Yaowang's medicine to Wang Laoshi and ask her if she agreed to your request." "Huh, good. I like taking advantage of people's difficulties." Zhao Qibing was very happy. This was a heaven-sent opportunity. "Then you go now, and report to me as soon as you have good news." When Lin Yi went upstairs, he passed by the washroom on the first floor and heard the conversation between Su Jiaonong and Zhao Qibing. A playful smile appeared on his face. It seemed that Zhao Qibing's plan was going to fail. Although Lin Yi didn't have any special thoughts on whether or not Zhao Qibing was drooling over Su Shirhan, but he unintentionally ruined one of Zhao Qibing's plans. Lin Yi was very satisfied. After leaving the corridor and returning to the VIP seats, Lin Yi smiled as he looked at the slowly rising stage. Su Shirhan was probably going to go on stage again. "Lin Yi, honey, you're back. There was a problem with the stage just now, and you left at the right time. You didn't miss any good performances, and you just came back and started again. You're so lucky," Xiao Xiao said when she saw that Lin Yi was back. "Yeah, what a coincidence. If I didn't know that Shielbro and Su Shirhan didn't know each other, I would have thought that Shielbro and Su Shirhan had a date backstage," Yushu said. Chapter 1292. "Haha, I'm not one of her fans, and I don't really understand, so I'm not interested. You guys watch." Lin Yi smiled, not replying to Yushu's words. The stage rose, and the concert restarted. Xiao Xiao and Yushu's attention returned to the concert, and they stood up, waving the light sticks in their hand with the other fans, celebrating the start of the concert. Lin, he looked at Su Shirhan on the stage. She seemed to be in good spirits, much better than before. Lin, he smiled faintly. It seemed that Su Shirhan was back to normal. Looking at the happy Xiao Xiao, Lin, he felt that he made the right choice in saving Su Shirhan. Of course, Su Shirhan's reappearance made some happy, while others worried. Su Jianong didn't know that Su Shirhan had reappeared. After ending the call with Zhao Qibing, he rushed to the basement and dialed Wang Wenshi's number. Hello. Wang Sis had just finished dealing with Su Shirhan's matters, and she let out a sigh of relief when Su Shirhan finally returned to the stage. Although she was wondering why Su Shirhan was fine all of a sudden, time was of the essence, and Su Shirhan didn't have time to explain. If she wanted to know the truth, she could only ask Su Shirhan after the concert. Wang Sis was very familiar with Su Shirhan's condition. Every time Su Shirhan's illness acted up, it would hurt for a while. There was no way she could recover so quickly, and this time, it was obviously much worse than before. It seemed that Su Shirhan had endured for a long time. Just as she was about to return to the resting room to watch Su Shirhan's live recording, Wang Sis's phone rang. Seeing Su Jianong's name, she frowned. What was wrong with this Su Jianong? Wang Wenshi, I'm Su Jianong. Su Jianong's tone was proud and condescending. Mr. Su, what's the matter? Wang Sis asked faintly. It's like this. I heard that Miss Su's headache is acting up again. I happen to have Zhao Yaowang's medicine on me. I wonder if Wang Wenshi and Miss Su can agree to Master Bing's request. Su Jianong went straight to the point. Some things didn't need to be hidden, especially in front of an understanding person like Wang Sis. Who told you that? Xiaohan is fine. It's just that the stage malfunctioned. It seems that President Su's information is wrong. Sister Wang was a shrewd person. Although she knew that what happened before couldn't escape Su Jianong's eyes, she wouldn't admit it personally. So, she just asked without saying anything. Just now, when Su Jianong opened his mouth, Wang Sis even thought that Su Shirhan had gotten the headache medicine from Su Jianong and had taken it to calm her headache. Moreover, Su Shirhan had paid a price in exchange for the concert to go on, as usual. Wang Jie couldn't be blamed for thinking like that. After all, only Su Jianong, the spokesperson for Zhao Qibing and Zhao Yaowang, will be able to relieve Xiaohan's headache so quickly. Other than that, Sister Wang really couldn't think of anyone else with such great ability. But with Sister Wang's understanding of Su Shirhan, she knew that Su Shirhan was a strong person. She would rather die from the pain than agree to Zhao Qibing's unreasonable request. This was a girl who would rather die than submit. Unless she really liked someone, she wouldn't do anything over the line. And Su Jianong's words proved Sister Wang's guess. It seemed that Su Jianong didn't know that Su Shirhan had returned to the stage and was performing as if nothing had happened. That was why he said such shameless words, wanted to make a deal with Sister Wang. Wang Jianong, let's not beat around the bush. What happened to Su Shirhan? Was it because of the stage malfunction or because of her own problem? We all know this. I just want to ask you, do you want the concert to continue? If you want the concert to continue, then you better agree to Master Bing's request. I have medicine with me that can help Miss Su Shirhan's headache immediately. Su Jianong said, President Su, I'm sorry. I already said that your information is wrong. Why don't you believe me? The stage has been fixed, and Su Shirhan is performing again. If you don't believe me, you can go and see for yourself. Sister Wang smiled. President Su, I think you can see this clearly. There's no need for me to lie to you, right? Su Jianong froze after hearing Sister Wang's words. But he did hear the sound of singing in the stadium again. At first, he thought that it was some song for the audience. But after listening carefully, it seemed like Su Shirhan was speaking. Could it be that he made a mistake? Su Shirhan didn't leave the stage because of a headache, but because of the stage malfunction. After hanging up the phone, Su Jianong went back upstairs to the concert venue, only to see Su Shirhan standing on the stage in perfect condition, singing and dancing. She didn't look like she was having a headache at all. This made Su Jianong extremely depressed. It was just like what Sister Wang said. Nothing happened to Su Shirhan. He made a mistake. Su Jiaonong sighed. He had boasted to Master Bing before, but now the problem was, how was he going to explain it to Master Bing? After one climax after another, the concert finally came to an end amidst the passionate cheers of the audience. Although the fans weren't done yet, it was time to leave. After Su Shirhan finished the last song, she bowed to everyone and said, "Thank you, everyone, for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend my concert. Thank you." Although there was a small incident in the middle of the concert, the end result was very smooth. Su Shirhan, Su Shirhan, Su Shirhan, we can't bear to see you go. Su Shirhan, we love you. The cheers from the audience came one after another. Su Shirhan's eyes were a little wet. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. But after 4 hours, everyone is tired. I'm tired too. I hope there'll be a chance for us to meet again next time. The next concert date hasn't been set yet. Everything will have to wait for the official news from the company's website. The stage slowly descended. Su Shirhan waved to everyone and said goodbye reluctantly. He looked at Su Shirhan. He didn't know if she was really reluctant or just putting on a show. Chapter 1293. Honey, why aren't you driving? Xiao Xiao asked curiously. She saw that it didn't seem like he was going to drive after everyone else had left. I'll bring you to take a picture with Su Shirhan later, he said faintly. Take a picture with Su Shirhan? Xiao Xiao blinked, shocked. Are you serious? Honey, you're bringing me to take a picture with Su Shirhan? No way. I'm going to take a picture with her? Yes, I'll call her after the audience leaves, Linny said. Shield bro, can we go too? Yushu asked quickly. I'll ask, Linny nodded. Linny, how do you know Su Shirhan? Or rather, how did you get Xiao Xiao to take a picture with her? Mengyao asked curiously as she looked at Linny. Coincidence. I bumped into her when I went to the washroom. He shrugged with a smile. Wow, Shield bro, you're so strong. You bumped into Su Shirhan when you went to the washroom. Prophet Shu, you're so strong. I told you that Shield bro and Su Shirhan were going on a secret date. Yushu exclaimed. It's not a date. It's just a coincidence, He said. Most of the people had left, and most of the cars were gone. He took out his phone and dialed Su Shirhan's number. Hello. The call connected quickly, but it wasn't Su Shirhan who picked up. It was another girl. He frowned. Could it be that Su Shirhan tricked him and gave him a fake number? Or did he remember wrongly? That couldn't be right. Is this Miss Su's number? He didn't say Su Shirhan's name, only Miss Su. If he really dialed the wrong number and called Su Shirhan directly, she might think he was crazy. May I ask who you are? Wang Sis paused. It was an unknown number, and the caller didn't call the wrong number, calling Su Shirhan Miss Su. This made Wang Sis a little suspicious. The person who treated her. You'll know once you talk to her, he said lightly. Oh, please wait a moment. Wang Sis was taken aback. She quickly turned around and walked to Su Shirhan's side. Han, someone's calling, saying that it's the person who's going to treat you. At this moment, Su Shirhan had just removed her makeup and changed her clothes. Hearing Wang Sis's words, she immediately said, he's looking for me. Wang Sis, give me the phone. Su Shirhan was still wondering if He would call her, but it had been so long since the concert ended, and she still hadn't received a call from He. This made her feel lost and uneasy. What if He didn't remember the number or didn't call? Because she was in a hurry and didn't have her phone, pen, and paper with her, she didn't ask for Yi's number. Now that she wanted to contact she couldn't. So when Wang Sis said that Yi was calling, Su Shirhan didn't dare to delay. She quickly asked for the phone. Wang Sis was slightly stunned. She didn't expect Su Shirhan to be so proactive. Wang Sis wanted to ask Su Shirhan how she got her headache after coming down from the stage, but she didn't have time because Su Shirhan was removing her makeup and changing her clothes. Now, the person who treated her was calling. Could it be that Su Shirhan's headache was cured by this mysterious person? I'm Su Shirhan. Su Shirhan said calmly after taking the phone. It's me. I'm bringing my girlfriend to you for a photo. Linny asked. Okay, I'll get someone to pick you up. Just meet me at the stairs of the basement. Su Shirhan said. Okay, I'll go now. There are a few friends who want to take a photo with you. Can we go together? Lenny asked. Can we do it next time? The company has rules. I can't bring too many non-staff backstage. Why don't you come first, and after you leave, I'll let your friends come in. Su Shirhan said after thinking for a while. Then forget it. It's so troublesome. I won't make it difficult for you. We'll talk about it next time. Lenny could tell that Su Shirhan wasn't rejecting him, but there were people in the company. She couldn't make the decision. This was a very normal thing. After all, not just anyone could enter the backstage. Although Su Shirhan was a big star, she could bring in 1 or 2 people, but she couldn't bring in so many people at once. It was a bit difficult for her. So Lin, you didn't want to make it difficult for her. It's not that troublesome. How about this? You come in first. When I leave, we'll find a place where there's no one and take a photo with your friends outside. Su Shirhan thought that Lin, he had helped her so much before. If she didn't repay him, she would feel bad. Lin Yi's request was very simple. It was just a photo. If she couldn't do it, Su Shirhan would feel very guilty. That works. Lin Yi nodded. Then I'll go now. After hanging up, Lin Yi turned to Meng Yao, Shu, and Tang Yin in the back. I'll go in with Xiao Xiao first. You guys wait for me in the car. We can't have too many people backstage. When Su Shirhan comes out, you guys can take a photo with her. Okay. If it's too troublesome, it's fine. Tang Yin nodded. Meng Yao and Yu Shu didn't have any objections to this. After all, their goal was to make Xiao Xiao happy. Everything was for Xiao Xiao to be happy. They didn't care. Although the opportunity to take a photo with Su Shirhan was rare, there was a saying that as long as one was alive, there was hope. They were still young, but Xiao Xiao was different. Let's go, Xiao Xiao. Lenny opened the door and pulled Xiao Xiao out of the car. Xiao Xiao was a little embarrassed at this. Everyone couldn't go, and only she had this privilege. This made her excited, but at the same time, a little embarrassed. Xiao Xiao knew why everyone was letting her go. She sighed and didn't say anything. Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao went back to the gymnasium. At this time, all the fans had left, and the gymnasium was empty again. Other than the cleaning staff, there was no one else. Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao went to the first floor stairs and saw a man waiting there. Seeing this man, Lin Yi's eyes froze. Not because he knew this man, but because this man was a mystic late phase peak. Chapter 1294. Lenny didn't expect to meet such a master in this gymnasium. If he wasn't mistaken, this person should be Su Shirhan's bodyguard. Otherwise, Su Shirhan wouldn't have asked him to wait here for her. Lin Yi was surprised that Su Shirhan had such a powerful bodyguard. How could a celebrity have such a powerful bodyguard? How much would it cost to hire such a master? Was it a coincidence, or was there an unknown power behind Su Shirhan? Is there anything I can help you with? When Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao walked down the stairs, Feng Sanwang walked up and asked faintly. He didn't ask if Lin Yi was looking for Su Shirhan, but asked what was the matter. This meant that even if Feng Sanwang was sure that Lin Yi was the person Su Shirhan wanted to meet, he still asked out of caution. I called Su Shirhan. She asked you to come pick us up, right? Lin Yi asked. The two of you, please follow me. Feng Sanwang nodded and didn't say much. He brought Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao to a resting room. Feng Sanwang knocked on the door and pushed it open. Miss Su, the person you want to meet is here. Please come in. With that, Feng Sanwang gestured for Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao to enter. Lin Yi and Xiao Xiao entered the resting room together. Su Shirhan was resting on the sofa. When she saw Lin, she quickly stood up and went to greet him personally. It didn't matter if she didn't like Lin Yi, but Lin Yi was her savior. If it weren't for him, the concert would have been ruined. So Su Shirhan was still very polite to Lin Yi. You're here. Thank you so much for what you did before. I was in a rush and didn't have time to thank you. It's okay. I already said that I'm just helping my girlfriend finish the concert. Lin Yi waved his hand, looking at Su Shirhan indifferently. Wow. You're really Su Shirhan. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, was very excited to see the superstar she liked standing in front of her. It really is Su Shirhan. So you look even more beautiful and pure without makeup. You're pretty too. Your boyfriend says you're prettier than me. Su Shirhan smiled. But as she spoke, she glared at Lin Yi, unsatisfied. She had to admit that Xiao Xiao was pretty, but she wasn't that bad herself. At most, it was a tie. They were about the same. Why was his girlfriend so much prettier than him? Of course not. Hee, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, Xiao Xiao said, but she felt sweet inside. It seemed that Lin Yi's husband liked her a lot. Even Su Shirhan's charm wasn't as good as hers. Not really. He has good taste. I can see that he treats you very well. Su Shirhan shook her head, envious of Xiao Xiao. She was so lucky to have such a loyal boyfriend. A beauty like her was in front of Lin Yi, but he didn't care at all. It was as if she was a floating cloud. He didn't care about how pretty she was. He only had eyes for his girlfriend. Many men who saw her would want to take a picture with her or get intimate with her, but Lin Yi didn't seem to have that intention at all. Even if he wanted to take a picture with her, it would be with his girlfriend. He didn't even want to take a picture with her. You think he's nice too? Xiao Xiao was a little excited at Su Shirhan's words. She felt that there was something going on between Lin Yi and Su Shirhan. Otherwise, why would a superstar like Su Shirhan be so nice to Lin Yi? Could it be that Su Shirhan had her eyes on Lin Yi as well? With that thought, Xiao Xiao felt that it was possible, and hearing Su Shirhan's envious tone, she was even more sure of it. Su Shirhan was probably interested in Lin Yi's husband. If that was the case, then she help out. Su Shirhan paused. How about you be Lin Yi's husband's girlfriend too? Then we'll go home and have a threesome. Xiao Xiao had been hanging out with Yushu lately, and her words had become a lot more aggressive. She was starting to become more like Yushu, but it was because she didn't have much time left, and she didn't have to worry so much anymore. Su Shirhan's eyes widened, and her face reddened. What? A threesome? Did she hear wrongly? Lin Yi was waiting for Xiao Xiao as if nothing had happened. But when he heard Xiao Xiao's words, he almost fell to the ground. What did she say? A threesome with Su Shirhan? Lin Yi remembered the wish on Xiao Xiao's phone, and he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Ahem. Xiao Xiao, didn't you want a picture? Hurry up and take a picture. Stop joking around. Lin Yi scolded. He was afraid that Xiao Xiao would say something else if she kept talking. All right, a picture. I almost forgot. Xiao Xiao slapped her forehead and exclaimed. She was a little aroused when she saw Su Shirhan, and then she started talking incoherently, forgetting why she was here in the first place. Now that she remembered, she quickly said, Wait for me to dress up. I'll be right there. Let me use the dressing room. With that, Xiao Xiao ran into the dressing room in the lounge, preparing to fix her appearance. Seeing Xiao Xiao run over, Lin Yi didn't stop her. Using this chance, Lin Yi quickly walked in front of Su Shirhan. There were some things he had to explain to her. Miss Su, don't take my girlfriend's words seriously. She likes to mess around. Lin Yi sighed and lowered his voice. Actually, she has a terminal illness. She won't be able to hold on much longer. So, don't argue with her, Su Shirhan froze at Lin Yi's words. After hearing Xiao Xiao's words, her impression of Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi really did drop. She even wondered if Lin Yi was a hypocrite. He looked like a loyal person, but in reality, he was just like Zhao Qibing, the type of person who liked women. But now that she heard Lin Yi's explanation, she was shocked. She has a terminal illness? That's why I didn't want her concert to stop halfway. Lin Yi nodded. She likes you, and one of her wishes is to see your concert and take a picture with you. I don't want her to leave this world with disappointment. That's why I saved you, so you don't have to feel anything for me. I saved you because I didn't want Xiao Xiao to be disappointed. Chapter 1295. Chapter 1293. A superstar's request. In fact, Shirhan understood that Lin Yi didn't like her. In Lin Yi's eyes, she was no different from a stranger, so it was normal that Lin Yi didn't save her. Why would she think that Lin Yi would save her? So she didn't mind what Lin Yi said. Powerful? Maybe, but there are always regrets in life. No matter how powerful someone is, there are always things they can't do. We aren't omnipotent. Lin, he shook his head and said sadly, she lacks a medicine, and it's hard to find nowadays. Yeah, we aren't omnipotent. Shirhan sighed and nodded, so that's how it is. She's so pitiful. That's why her way of thinking is a bit weird. Don't mind it. I've seen some of her wishes. One of them is that if she's a boy, she wants to push you down. If she's a girl, she wants to do that. That's indirectly pushing you down. Lin, he explained for Xiao Xiao. He didn't want Shirhan to misunderstand her. As for Lin Yi himself, it didn't matter. Misunderstanding or not, it didn't matter. Huh? Shirhan paused after hearing Lin Yi's words. Is that so? Your girlfriend's way of thinking is really weird. Yeah, she knew that she wouldn't live past 20. It's normal that her way of thinking is different from others. Lin Yi said, so Miss Su, I hope that you can spend more time with her. Consider it a request of mine. Of course, no problem, Shirhan agreed. Shirhan agreed right away. Now that the misunderstanding was cleared up, she felt quite sympathetic towards Xiao Xiao. In the past, Shirhan thought that she was very unlucky, having a family tragedy since she was young, and now she had a headache that felt like it was going to explode at any moment. But compared to Xiao Xiao, all of that was nothing. Very quickly, Xiao Xiao came running out of the dressing room, and Lin, he stopped talking and moved to the side. Shirhan had a professional photographer with her, and she told Wang Sis about it, and Wang Sis got the photographer over to take a photo of her and Xiao Xiao. Since Shirhan knew about Xiao Xiao's background, she was very patient and serious when taking photos, not showing any impatience at all. Wow, I never thought that one day I would be able to take so many pictures with Su Shirhan. Linny, honey, come take a picture with us? Xiao Xiao waved at Lin excitedly. I'm not taking pictures. You guys take pictures. I don't like taking pictures. Lin, he waved his hand. He wasn't interested in taking pictures with celebrities. Come on, Linny, honey. Treat it as keeping me company. Xiao Xiao said, a little reluctant. All right, then I'll take one. Lin, he smiled bitterly and walked over. Shirhan was seething with anger. I'm a superstar. There are so many people who want to take pictures with me. And you don't like taking pictures? Do you think I want to take pictures with you? Oof. If it weren't for you helping me once, and Xiao Xiao being so pitiful, do you think I'd be that free? Keeping you guys company for fun. But she could only say this in her heart, cursing Lin Yi 1,000 times in her heart. She couldn't say it out loud. Lin Yi stood beside Xiao Xiao, putting Xiao Xiao in the middle of the picture. Shirhan was even more annoyed. Didn't she always put herself in the middle when taking pictures with other people, and the other person stood on either side of her? But now, he had become a foil for her. And so, this picture, Shirhan didn't smile. She pursed her lips and finished the picture, feeling wronged, as if she was a punching bag. After taking the pictures, Shirhan's employees were almost done packing up. Everyone was getting ready to leave for the celebration party. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, was satisfied. She didn't want to bother Shirhan anymore. Miss Su, thank you. Lin Yi nodded to Shirhan. No matter what, Xiao Xiao was happy today. Lin Yi's impression of Shirhan improved. You're welcome. I didn't do anything. Shirhan shook her head with a smile. Then Xiao Xiao and I won't bother you anymore. We'll leave first. I can see that you guys have other things to do. You're going to the celebration party, right? We'll leave first. As for taking pictures with my friend, we'll talk about it when we have the chance. Lin, he didn't want to trouble Shirhan too much. After all, he took up so much of her time today. Lin, he felt bad. Mr. Lin, please wait. Su Shirhan hesitated. I do need to go to the celebration party later, but can I invite you and Miss Feng to come too? Shirhan had 2 reasons for doing this. First, she wanted to ask Lin Yi if her headache could be cured. After all, this illness had been tormenting her for so many years. If there was a chance to get better, she wouldn't let it go. Secondly, Shirhan really did sympathize with Xiao Xiao, and bringing her to the celebration was to spend more time with her. Join the celebration party? Lin Yi frowned. He was suspicious of Shirhan's goal. Although he did help Shirhan, Shirhan accompanied Xiao Xiao to take pictures with her. That counted as returning the favor. No matter what, they didn't owe each other anything. Now that Shirhan invited him and Xiao Xiao to her celebration party, it was a bit too warm. Could it be that she had another goal? Lin, he wasn't stupid. Shirhan's goal was to cure her illness. Her headache was only temporarily suppressed by his acupuncture and massage, but it would still come back. If Shirhan wanted to find him, other than this goal, Lin, he couldn't think of any other reason. Mr. Lin, tell me the truth. Su Shirhan hesitated and didn't hide anything. First of all, I feel like Miss Xiao Xiao and I are very close. I don't have many friends, so I want to make Xiao Xiao my friend. Second, I have some questions about my body that I want to ask you, Mr. Lin. Lin, he was surprised by Shirhan's honesty, but his impression of her improved a bit. Let's ask Xiao Xiao for her opinion. Lin Yi's words meant that he didn't reject Shirhan's suggestion. He wanted her to ask for Xiao Xiao's opinion. If Xiao Xiao agreed, then he'd be fine with it. Lin Yi's mind was on Xiao Xiao. As long as she was happy, it was fine. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.